Will be brief, and I hope not to be overly esoteric. As you know, I've been an academic for 52 years. I graduated from Northwestern Law School in 1965. So I'm now on my second half century. I don't know if I'll make it to the end of the second half century. But anyway, written 9 books and all of this kind of thing, but what I want to focus on today is one topic, and that is campaign finance reform. All right? Let's just narrow everything down to that. What I have done in my academic career was to develop an original political philosophy. In other words, I am part scholar, but I went beyond that, I think, and said, okay, look, we need a whole new paradigm, a whole new framework. And that had to do with the importance of psychology, the importance of the subjective variable, going back to Kant and the notion of the giving of meaning to the world, and that came from the individual, the Copernican revolution in philosophy, it was called. Things did not have inherent meaning. We give meaning to it. And the question, of course, is, who is it who's giving meaning? Or what institutions give meaning? And are there biases there? You bet there are. So, in talking about campaign finance reform, let me just say this. What happened in 2010 was an absolute disgrace. The Citizens United case was an outrage. But I'm not going to give you false modesty, okay? I think you could see it coming. If you knew where to look, you could see it coming. 1997, the constitutional divide. 2006, the 21st century left, cognitions in the Constitution and why Buckley is wrong. Remember, this all started with Buckley versus Valeo, 1976. Lewis Powell, the man who wrote the Powell Memorandum for Richard Nixon, and then, he wound up on the Supreme Court, and then he wrote Buckley versus Valeo. If you followed the train of cases from Buckley versus Valeo up to 2010, what happened was, I think, wholly predictable. So I've been writing for years before Citizens United, the American Constitution Society, which is the answer to the Federalist Society. In 2007, the Seventh Amendment, the key to reversing Buckley versus Valeo. I thank those people who are fighting hard to overturn Citizens United, but I'm not going to be falsely modest. The fact of the matter is there was a small cordon of us who, well before Citizens United, knew it was coming. And we were already writing back in the 90s and in the first decade of the 21st century and saying, look out, it's coming. The conservatives are doing this incrementally, but they know what they're doing. And with each successive case, they chipped away and chipped away and chipped away, and finally you got Citizens United. Let me give you very quickly, and hopefully in a way that is easily understandable, how I think this should be dealt with. I respect groups like Public Citizen, but they're a long way from solving the problem. The head of that organization said, well, we're halfway there on an amendment because they got 19 states out of 38. That's halfway. No, it's not halfway. If you don't know the difference between low-hanging fruit and high-hanging fruit, you shouldn't be the head of public interest, all right? Excuse me. Move to amend. Wonderful people, well-intentioned. I don't see the depth there if you're simply going to talk about the corporation is not a person, that money isn't speech. Of course we all agree to that. But it's much deeper than that. My view is you have to get into the depth of the Constitution, excuse me, and the depth of the Bill of Rights in order to build an argument. Here's the argument in about 5 minutes, all right? In the world of knowledge, there is something called the analytic and the synthetic cognitions. Basically, the analytic cognition is apples and apples, all right? We don't have to get into German idealists and Kant and Hegel and all that. Apples and apples, okay? And the synthetic cognition is apples and oranges, all right? I'm going to ask you a very simple question. What is the most important thing to say about the original 7 articles of the Constitution? The answer is it's an analytic document. You probably never thought of that. It's not taught at Harvard Law School. It's not in any textbooks. It's an analytic document. Why? Because there is a high dispersion of all of the institutions. It's a highly centrifugal thing that the founders did. Separation of powers, federalism, bicameralism, staggered elections, separation of people. If you're in the Congress, you can't be in the cabinet, and vice versa. You see what I mean? It's a highly dispersed kind of thing, which means that all of the interactions are at arm's length. They are contractual in their form. There is no encumbrance. What is the institution that the founders hated because it would have been an encumbrance that would have helped unify the institution? Political parties. Washington, Adams, Hamilton, the early Madison, they all detested political parties because that would mean that the people could aggregate this system that they had spread out so that it couldn't be aggregated. All right, you with me? What is the Bill of Rights? What does the Bill of Rights mean in its cognitive form? It's synthetic. And now I want to really emphasize something. And you can use this with your conservative friends and so forth. Yes, the locus of your right is individual, private sector, okay? But guess what? The telos, all right, Greek term for purpose or intent, is aggregative. Why do you have freedom of speech? So that you can talk to people. Why do you have freedom of the press? So that you can aggregate, communicate. All right? Even the Second Amendment, which most of us hate, I hate, but still, so that you had a militia that could form. Third Amendment, no soldiers in your home, okay? What would they be doing? Spying on you. Fourth Amendment, search and seizure. Who are you writing? Who's written you? That's all aggregative, you see? If you come out of this little lecture of mine with one thing, the original 7 articles of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights are ideological opposites. They're ideological opposites. And the original 7 articles are conservative, and they are structurally designed to prevent the people from aggregating in a small d democratic way. All right? The Bill of Rights, aggregative, democratic. We can get together. It was Jeffersonian. Everybody with me? All right. I'm going to close with this. There were 2 little provisions that also point out what the flavor of these 2 bodies, the original 7 Bill of Rights, were. One is the provision, Section 10, Article 1, that states may not impair contracts. Okay? What had Rhode Island been doing and some other states? Moratoriums, changing terms of contracts, pro-debtor. Okay? They were for the little guy. All right? The Federalists didn't want that. The states may not impair the obligations of contracts. Is that constitutional? Is that structural? Hell no. They stuck it in there as a substantive statutory provision, okay, that really has nothing to do with the Constitution, but it said to people, you can't impair these contracts. But then what happened? And that's why I wrote this article on the Seventh Amendment, because the Seventh Amendment says that facts determined by a jury cannot be overturned by appellate courts. That's really important, because what were the facts determined by a jury? They were pro-debtor. They were a finding that a contract of debt was inequitable, that you were getting a terrible interest rate, that they were taking advantage of the fact that you were desperate and you needed feed and seed for your farm and so forth. Okay? So the Seventh Amendment said once a jury decides that the contract was inequitable, an appellate court judge cannot overturn that, they knowing who the appellate court judges were going to be. Who was going to appoint the appellate court judges? The Federalists, okay? The Washington and the Adams types. You got me? So even within the Constitution, the two substantive provisions that deal with contract are ideological opposites. What's in the original 7 articles? Conservative, you can't touch a contract no matter how badly I took advantage of you. That's tough. Nobody can do anything about it. The Bill of Rights has this little thing in there, the Seventh Amendment. A jury can decide that the contract was inequitable. You see what I'm talking about? I think that's the kind of argument that we've got to make. I thank people who are working in, various organizations, MTA and so forth, to move to amend. But we've got to get one step deeper. And I think I'm going to be speaking up in Minneapolis the first weekend of August on this to the Democracy Conference. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Bill, for your insight and your suggestions, recommendations, and your hard work. You've been with us for a really long time, and we're very proud to call you green and to have had you serving the party and the work that you do. So thank you again, Bill. So on the agenda, we have a couple of things, but I'm going to ask right now, before we get started in that, if Tama would come this way. Tama Yeager. And I'm going to invite those steering committee members that are able to come up with her. Sure, that's fine. So this year, the steering committee had a conversation that Tama didn't know about. And Tama has been working for a really, really long time. She's terming out for this round of SC participation and service. But she has given many, many, many years, over a decade plus of time, and in that capacity, hasn't just been around and in the party, but she's taken on a lot of roles and a lot of leadership roles and a lot of things, and helping to coordinate A&Ms for quite some time, serving on fundraising committees, merchandise committees, serving on the steering committee, and also being a leader in her state party. And so we just wanted to say thank you for all that work and for what it takes to do this remotely from wherever she is in Virginia to wherever we're going to be around the country. And so we decided to get together and spend a little bit of our green money to give her something to hold on to when she's back at home. And so this says Tama Yeager for commitment, dedication, service, and support, Green Party of the United States. And so Tama is also, and her husband Tom are also major donors to and sustaining donors to the Green Party and have been for quite some time. So we just thought this little token, fairly heavy token, of our love for you would just make you remember us when you're home doing your other things. All right, so Tama's without if you know Tama, for Tama to be without words is amazing. Yeah. So we're going to move forward. We've got a couple of quick little reports we're going to give you, and then we have a little section here that is new this year that we haven't done quite in this way before, with introducing our staff to you and them having an opportunity to talk to you about some things. But I'm going to come back and tell you about that in a moment. But right now I'm going to ask Hillary to come with our financial report. And I'm going to, while she's coming, to give you a quick update on the steering committee report. So the steering committee this year, this term anyway, elected to have a retreat in the middle of the term, middle of the year rather, so that we could do more things that happen face to face, have some dialogue, conversations about the direction of the party, things that were going on. And so we did that not far from this area. We were in near Philadelphia, and had a great retreat. We also were able to have a moment with our former presidential and vice presidential candidates, or nominees rather, and also a conversation with then the state representative candidate, Sherry Hankala, who was at that moment running for office in a special election. And so we were able to really talk about how the National Party can participate a little bit more in some of those local and state-run races, in addition to what normally happens with the CCC. We were able to talk with Jill and Ajamu about their campaign and how going forward, what kinds of things we would be able to build into that. And that became a part of what you'll hear from Adrian, some of his work as it relates to political organizing. And so we're looking at how do we continue to build those bridges between what's happened from the past and where we're going in the future. And so our steering committee retreat was very, very fruitful in that we got a great opportunity to set some agenda and some priorities to look at. And so we have not yet made all of those priorities since that meeting was in February, but we're going to continue working on those priorities that have been set, and with the new SC, be able to bring that so we have some more continuity. We've also been able to create a little bit more of a structure with our staff in terms of having, beginning the process of being able to evaluate staff and to have good job descriptions that we can look back on, evaluate what's going, and be able to look at how do we move forward with any kind of enhancements with staff in terms of their salaries or their job changes or things that we need as the party goes forward. And I think, Andrea, is this where we're going to do the union?
Yeah. So do you want to do
Sure.
look for consensus?
Yes.
So, steering committee members,
Just
could you stand, please? Steering committee members? Thank you, Tom, I see your arm. So we have been asked as the steering committee to recognize the local that all of our staff have just joined, and so they are now unionized. They are asking for the steering committee to recognize them as their supervisors, as a collective bargaining unit. So from here on out, if the steering committee consensus to accept recognition for their status as a unionized local, from here on out, we will deal with them from a collective bargaining standpoint and as fellow agreements.
Who's missing?
So steering committee members, I'm looking for consensus on whether or not we will recognize the new employees local. Are there any clarifying questions? Are there any blocks?
8, so only Darlene. Oh.
Is it fair to say,
Hold on, Darlene, the SESI is currently consenting on recognition of, we do have quorum. Recognition. Well, we had it before you got here, but anyway. I'm just joking. But Darlene, we are consenting on recognizing the staff union, so we're asking you to participate in that consensus vote. So
So we have consensus,
we,
steering committee members?
without objection,
I just want to say that I've been encouraging the union, I'm a union steward person, and I've been encouraging this for months, and I'm very happy that this is happening right now. So it looks like we have consensus. If you want to
so we are proud to recognize the newest unit of the IWW. Solidarity forever, solidarity forever, solidarity forever, for the union makes us strong. Hillary.
So hello, everyone. Good morning. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Hillary Kane, and I wear a few hats in this party. Co-chair of the annual meeting committee, though really Tama is the one who deserves all the credit. Co-chair of the coordinated campaign committee, so some of you might know me from our CCC webinars and other campaign trainings. And newly, as of, I guess, not quite 2 months now, I'm the new treasurer of GPUS. And so I first want to say that I don't have a full and formal financial report because I am still getting up to speed. It's actually a really huge undertaking that even I, as someone who's been long time in the party and thought I sort of knew most of what was going on, have been pretty overwhelmed, quite frankly, at all the different moving parts, paid staff, merchandise, the meeting, we have a PayPal, we have a traditional merchant account, and the previous treasurer, who I stepped in to sort of fill a vacancy, literally has basically gone AWOL. And so there's different people with different pieces of knowledge who are all trying to pass things on to me, but unfortunately there's no one set system where one person knows everything and can just hand me the keys and say good luck. So just to know that it's in process and that I'm doing lots and lots of fact-finding and digging. What I can say is that compared to previous years, we're in generally decent shape financially. We're making payroll, yay, which is huge, right? For those of us, who know so roughly speaking, there's about $180,000 in the bank. Which sounds like a lot of money and is great. Our annual proposed budget for this year was around $450. So just to put that in perspective. So despite the fact that it feels like from historical perspective, we might be relatively flush, there's always more things that we could be doing. More people we could be hiring, more literature we could be producing, more gatherings we could be organizing, and of course all of that costs money. So I would not be a good treasurer if I didn't use my time up here to do at least one pitch for money. I know even things like providing food today was not part of the original A&M budget. We were supposed to have dining. And then unfortunately, NJIT told us very late in the game that, oh wait, actually dining's not open on the weekends. So we sort of had to pay for catering. So there's always a need for more money. I'm sure this is nothing new, but I know that there are little donation boxes floating around. So, even if it's like a couple bucks for coffee, thank you. Or obviously big fat checks, feel free to put them in the box. So the other thing I want to say as treasurer is that I'm also creating new systems. We haven't ever had a general ledger, it seems like. So So we're getting that together. Also, what seems to be lacking is an accounting of just as we spend money, is it tracked against the budget? So if we budgeted $10,000 for X line item, and then we spend a little bit here and a little bit here, who is keeping track of whether we've hit that $10,000 mark or gone over? So there are some new, so I have accomplished a few things in the last 6 to 7 weeks, and there's much more to go, and all I can say is be patient. I've already been getting emails from folks saying, please, pay this bill. I will have access to the checkbook after this meeting, so I will finally be able to do that, and I want to thank Daryl for stepping up in the lurch and taking care of some of those responsibilities in Brian's absence. So yes. Okay. So the last thing I want to say, and I kind of agreed to cede a few minutes of my time to Jeff Cubbage. Is he in the room? Okay. So while I will continue to chat then. So what I want to say is that we have made a lot of progress as a party on a lot of different things. There's still way more work to be done to get us where we want to be. But I just want to also give some statistics about the meeting itself and some of where the money goes and how we operate as a party. And so last year, which was a PNC year, so it's obviously a very different thing, we had about 75 folks attending who were subsidized in some sort of way. The majority of those are what we call diversity scholarships. There's travel scholarships. And that was out of about 600 people who attended the meeting. This year, we made a bigger commitment. We also have about 75 people here who are on some type of subsidy, and that's out of about 200. So the percentage of folks attending who are here with some type of financial assistance from the party has really ratcheted up over previous years. There's still way more work to be done. As most of you know, it is still a big financial hardship and burden for many of us to come. And so our hope is that one of the things that we'll be able to keep doing is growing that pot of money for future years. I want to thank the outreach committee specifically, who allocated $1,000 of their own committee money to add to the diversity pot of money so that we could increase that number of scholarships. So originally it was allocated 4,000. The requests and decisions were closer to 5, and outreach stepped up to the plate and said, we'll give $1,000 of our budget to help make that happen. Yeah. So I think that's really it. I guess I could also do a plug for members of the Finance Committee. So if anyone has this kind of background, we need your expertise. But I'm going to cede a few minutes of my time to Jeff Cubbage, who's going to talk about some concerns that came out of a meeting last night. And so I'm going to turn it over to Jeff.
Thanks, Hillary. All right. There you go. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to have to bend over for this whole thing, aren't I? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters and siblings of other genders and no gender at all. My name is Jeffrey Cubbage. I'm from the Illinois Green Party. Don't bother looking for me on your programs. I'm not there. This was impromptu. It was unplanned. I'm here because I'm angry. I am angry because I am the quietest and the gentlest member of my Illinois delegation. And the other members of my Illinois delegation, when they came here, the chair of our state party, Zerlina Smith, a black woman, her beautiful 8-year-old child. The chair of our Chicago party, Michael Harrington, black man. The chair of our Green Party Chicago South chapter, Comey, another black man, came down to the dining hall yesterday morning. First thing in the morning, before they'd had their coffee, they're in line. Someone from our ranks, a member of our party, wearing one of our tags, looks at this group, kind of laughs, says, oh, do they take food stamps here? And we all gasped. Yeah, we know that's bullshit. We all gasped. We know that's bad. These people did not feel welcome for the rest of the day. They said no one turns to us. No one's offering to shake our hand. No one wants to talk to us. They're talking to you, Jeffrey. What's the difference? And that's why they sent me up here. And I'm angry about that too. I'm angry that the white guy, the nice white guy, is the one that gets sent up here to say, hey, we got a problem, because my people from Illinois believe that folks will listen to me. and they don't necessarily believe that they're going to listen to them. So they sent me up here to do one task, and that task was to say, Greens, look around you. There is an elephant in the room. It's bubbling under the surface at a lot of our panels. A lot of people have touched on it, but there's been no real official statement. There's been no panel devoted to, do we confront the white supremacy in our midst? Do we admit that that is there? And they sent me up here to say, guys, yeah, it's here. Like, we live in a white supremacist nation. All of us have that in us somehow. If we're not confronting it here amongst ourselves, how are we going to go into those frontline communities and say we're going to confront it in the halls of government? And that is literally the entire thing I was sent up here to say. And I am the gentlest, quietest member of the Illinois State Party, I think. I am the tall guy. I am the tall guy at the back of the room. I do not like to make noise, but I'm angry. I'm fucking pissed. So imagine how my brothers and sisters and siblings of no gender and siblings of other genders from Illinois and from all around the country feel when they come here. So my plea to you, Greens, especially Greens who look like me, is before you leave the convention, look around for some strangers in your midst who do not look like you, who you do not know. Turn to them, stick your hand out, say, hello, brother, hello, sister, hello, friend. How are you? What's your struggle? What brought you here? Because that is not happening to the people that don't look like me. And it's happened plenty to me. So please, please, if you look like me, make that effort to find the people that don't. That's all I got. That's what we wanted to say from our meeting last night. I'll turn it on over to whoever's next, but please make that outreach. Because if we don't do it here, how are we going to go out and tell people in the streets that we are going to do it for them on their behalf? Thank you.
And on behalf of some of them who wanted to feel welcomed before, I thank you for saying that. Chris from our steering committee is going to come with another brief piece for us.
I realize how tall Jeffrey is as I'm not bending over. So, as everyone knows, today at 5 o'clock we have a steering committee election that is ending. Our annual steering committee elections end at 5 o'clock Eastern in the time zone of our meeting. So it'll end at 5 o'clock Eastern today. We're going to have steering committee candidates up here in a little bit. But there's a little bit of administrative work behind the scenes that most people don't know about, and that's called the Election and Tabulations Committee. The ETC is who verifies the vote. We check the records make sure every vote was counted. And it is usually reappointed every year by the National Committee. That did not happen this year. I think largely probably because last year there was no data from our voting system to actually tabulate. We didn't get the emails so we could check votes. But the steering committee has consented, since the NC did not act, to extend the term of last year's ETC. So that, this announcement is to confirm there will be an Elections and Tabulations Committee. We will be confirming the data on the vote when Hugh Esco goes into the code and kills it at 5 o'clock. So, if you have any questions, come find me. But this is more of a housekeeping. There will be oversight on this election. So.
Thank you, Chris. And just for the record, it isn't only that the NC didn't act, the NC was not, we didn't get the NC to act. So it's our responsibility to make sure it's done, and we apologize for that oversight. Also, this next section that we have, staff, we're gonna do a quick little swap, just so that you know from what we talked about before in the schedule, because we've got a couple of speakers and some have to go early. So we're gonna switch to that part and then come back to the staff part and lead to the end of the meeting into the SC portion of that. So Sherry, we're gonna skip to you and we're gonna start that section. So please, if you will, I want to just introduce you. Many of you guys know her, but as I thought about this morning, I can't always say that because there's a lot of new people. And so sometimes we want to say someone doesn't need introduction when in fact they do, because many of you won't know who we're talking about. But Sherry Honkler was a former vice presidential nominee in the 2012 election cycle. And she also has been an amazing activist in Pennsylvania, in the Philadelphia area. And she's known for shaking things up and letting the chips fall where they may, and then pointing out the inequities in the system and pushing people to make changes in that. And so we're very proud to have Sherry as a part of this particular political party. And so please welcome Sherry Honkler.
Good morning. So I've been asked to say a couple things and then bring up some additional speakers. Okay, so I've been asked to say something about my experience in the Green Party running as a candidate. I ran for sheriff in Philadelphia. I stole that entire idea based on African Americans in the South who ran to try and have impact on stopping the lynching. I then had the honor of running for vice president on the Green Party ticket. When people ask me what was that experience like, I'm sure Ajamu will join me in saying it's pretty much like getting hit by a Mack truck. Twice or three times, but it's a hell of an experience. And then most recently, I really went through a serious loss of innocence running in my own district for state representative in the 197. And I want to start off this morning, first of all, by acknowledging, and if you could stand, people that worked day and night on the 197. Come on, stand up. Come on. Stand up. See there, you're cordial. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so a short backdrop is that on the, when they say politics are local, they're local. On the very block that I live, in the poorest district in the state of Pennsylvania, in Kensington, where maybe you've recently seen on the news with Dr. Oz coming because there was 10,000 needles about 14 blocks from my house, where people shoot heroin in order to escape. I learned about what it means to really run for office in a frontline community. That's that is run by the Democratic Party, also known as the local mob, and it has not a damn thing to do with Russia. And as they're talking about the Russians stealing the election, I'm watching the fact that they stole my election in the 197 district, and it's not appearing on any of the progressive media. You're not hearing about it on the radio shows. My election should have been a slam dunk. I ran against the local parking authority guy that nobody had a damn idea who the hell he was. And on election day, the joke was, Sherry, you didn't get the menu. You know what the menu was? How much money it cost each ward leader in order to get you a certain percentage in each of the voting booths. I was an election observer in El Salvador and in Venezuela. the corruption that I saw in my district on election day, in which Hillary Cain had the privilege of answering the phone, or the horror of answering the phone all day long to one person after another, making complaints about what was happening on voting day. Well, some people say to me, Sherry, I wasn't very happy with the numbers in the district. Well, you know what? How can anybody be happy when they stole and took the same numbers from the last election and used it in this election to elect the parking authority guy? Until we begin to get serious of ensuring that we have our own election monitors, our own election judge, and we fill every voting booth in America with people on the inside, we will never know the true numbers of any election. So all of you that are talking about running for office, if you think that the problem is in Russia, you're about ready to have a rude awakening. So as we went around and saw brothers and sisters being paid in between the housing projects, as we saw them pass out stamps for the other opponent from the seat inside the election booth, as we produced video after video after video of election judges getting paid money to ensure that I was not elected on election day, we made a decision to raise the necessary $7,000, and we're going to federal court. Well, you know, those of us that live in the frontline communities know what that means. It means I hope I'm here next year to tell you how it went. Because as soon as we announced that, everybody on my block was issued notices that they were gentrifying my block. And last week, as I began to take everything out of my house because I was told that they were going to gentrify my apartment complex, put everything into storage, you know, because you have to make your choices. Do I raise the $7,000 and do the money to go forward with the fight as they keep trying to tell me, give it up, give it up? And so as we loaded everything on the trucks and brought it to storage, in between coming back with our crew to take the next load of storage and put it in, my next load of my stuff from my apartment and put it into storage, I came back and the property manager was ordered to take all of my stuff, including my son's Wii U, his games, his comic books, you name it, and throw it into a huge dumpster a block away across the street. So I came back and, of course, called the police department, filed a report, you name it, and then learned 2 days ago that they never received any kind of money from HUD to do any kind of gentrification to any of the houses on my block. So the first thing everybody says is, of course, you've got to get a lawyer, fight that. But this is what it means to run for office in a frontline community. Within 24 hours, both of my tires were sliced again, my belongings thrown into the trash, and my son and myself, after being known as a homeless advocate, entered homelessness for the first time again in my life. And people know that when I talk about me being homeless again in my life, we're not just talking about me. We're talking of anywhere up to 22 some people at any given time that reside in my house. And so now some of those folks are having to sleep in cars. I can't take any of the kids in from the city because right now I'm hiding in plain sight, waiting to go to federal court. And yet I turn on the television and have to hear about Russia and how people are not happy with the numbers. Well, let me tell you this. It's time for us to wake up, to realize that we really are at war, and that if we're serious about having people of color and frontline communities in this party, it's going to take more than caucuses. It's going to take more than conversations. It's going to take investing in frontline community elections to ensure the uplifting of the lives of the 55,000 people in the district of the 197. And that's why we called our campaign, We Are the 197. Because the 197 is not about Sherry Honkala or members of the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign. If they can get away with stealing an election in a small, impoverished community that has sent one Democrat after another to jail for like the last 60 years, well, damn it, where it is it that we're going to begin? So we're tired of the drugs. We're tired of the mass incarceration. And quite frankly, Guillermo's happy because he's sleeping on a dorm bed tonight. We need your support. We need you to follow this thing, to post it, to highlight it, to write about it, to ask all these damn progressives why they're only talking about Trump and Russia, and why the hell aren't you talking about the 197? Because it's my friends that are sleeping in the cars right now. It's those little kids that thought that they had some place to sleep, that nobody will take them into foster care. This is personal. We're never going to take this menu. The head of the Democratic Party called me and said, Sherry, you know, this could have been a shoo-in. If you would have just decided to switch to be a Democrat, you could have been state rep right now. Well, you know what? The Republican, Lucinda Little, she said, Sherry, damn it, you better run again because I'm going to vote for you. And so Lucinda Little, the Republican, and myself, and the Green Party in Pennsylvania, we're going to federal court. We're going to live stream it. We're going to issue subpoenas for the head of the Democratic Party. They've already gotten a lawyer from D.C. to try and dismiss the case. But we're going to put every one of these bastards on the stand. So, like they say in the movie Mouseland, if you've ever seen it, and people know I talk about it all the time, you can lock up a mouse or the people in the district of the 197, but you can't lock up an idea. And we're going to ensure that the whole country knows that not El Salvador, Venezuela, but Kensington, Philadelphia needs intervention and election monitors, and to ensure that we have a right to something as sacred as going in the damn voting booth and being able to decide who we want to run our district. Thank you very much. So they say the movement doesn't run on love alone. And I definitely need that love. But Pablo and Rachel and Christian and whoever and Asantua, could you guys stand, take out a hats, pass it around? I need your real love. I need your money. And during this intermission, can I have Akeem Browder and Ajamu and who's the third? Yeah, I want you guys to come sit up front. And Seth Kuberdell. I'm sorry, I hope I didn't chop the hell out of your names. No. Come. Not now? Yeah, hello.
We actually have a green bucket right there that we've been passing around.
Huh? Yes. Friends of Sherry Honkala. Sit in the order that you're going to be sitting up there. These last. You give it to the intern that's going through an experience of her life, Rachel. She came into town to move things into storage and deal with the police department. It's been a hell of a ride. I encourage many of you to come do an internship. All right, baby. We got to walk out of here with at least 4. All right. So, I'd like to start off by introducing Akeem Browder, who is a social justice advocate and an agent of change, the Bronx native who works to honor the legacy of his brother Khalif Browder and mother by working with elected officials, lawyers, doctors, college students, and community-based organizations to change laws, policies, and regulations that devastate poor communities and families that have been impacted by none other than mass incarceration and solidarity confinement in state prisons. He is the founder of Shut Down Rikers and the Khalif Browder Foundation. A civil engineer by trade, he is currently traveling the country promoting the 6-part Spike Lee TV docu-series, Time. The Khalif Browder story. He is a Green Party candidate for mayor of New York City. Let me introduce our soon-to-be next mayor of New York City, Khalif Browder.
Thank you for having me, everyone. I first want to start off by saying, although all of the New York team couldn't make it here, we do have an exceptional team that didn't sleep and that helped get me onto the ballot for this 2017 election in November to come. And so now we're looking to take it towards the national team. And so our national leaders, we're looking for your support because as we know, first, I'm a black man. I am running for the Green Party, and I've been impacted by the justice system as well. So that being said, 3 strikes against me already. So in that case, everyone's support is necessary because when we think about outside of the country and looking into the United States, do they think of Iowa? Do they think of Alabama, Florida as being United States? Mostly everyone looks at New York and says, well, the United States is New York, right? So it's important that we have a presence, and we do have a presence amongst us. And actually, the tides are turning as we talk in New York City to potential voters for us. The tide is turning, so we have a win. It's in your mind, and you have to start thinking of it now and thinking of that on what that change actually looks like. Because we as a black and brown skin community, we make up 68% of the population in America. And if that's the case, then we are not minorities. We are the majority. And so we have to get everyone to vote and to start having their voices heard. And by having just a 1% or the high class percent vote, we are doing ourselves an injustice, and that's why the homeless could be taken advantage of. That's why the disenfranchised going into these prison industrial complexes can be taken advantage of. That's why our children can be taken advantage of. What happened to my brother is a damn shame, and it's a disgrace to our legal system. But our legal system isn't broken. It's operating the way that it's supposed to. In that case, there's no reform of it. I say we've had more than 40 years of Democrats and Republicans running our country, running our cities. It's insane to think that, and it's the definition of insanity, to continuously do the same thing over and over, expecting different results. Oh, shoot. Sorry. So, I did prepare a speech, and I do want to stick to the speech because it's that I put my heart into. And so don't mind me looking down. The words are actually what I want to get across. And if I try to speak it, it's probably going to leave out something. The lack of affordable housing, wage stagnation, the wealth gap, institutional racism, unequal educational opportunities, discrimination between poor black and brown people in our justice system, the lack of services provided for the communities with transitioning the returning population, and inadequate health and social services for people living in poverty. That's what New York in our current in our current state of unity is faced with, at the very least. There are more problems, and I don't intend to pretend that I will be the one person to fix it all. But we live in the United States of America, and so it's about time that we act in a united way for America. If we think that housing subsidy and supportive services can create community and human connection, we are mistaken. We must follow the lead of nations that have focused on strategies for social inclusion, countries like Denmark and Scotland that work actively to destigmatize mental illness, substance use disorders, homelessness, and poverty. Until we see one another as equal human beings worthy of living happy and fulfilled and connected lives, we will continue to think of the world in terms of us and them, a worldview that is, I believe, fundamentally flawed. Creating a strategy for social inclusion and social connectedness must be a part of our thinking in our work to end homelessness. Now, in New York City, there's a common phrase, and even though people are talking about me running for mayor, there's a common thing that they say, I'm the justice mayor. I'm running for justice in New York. Until we can all connect, or until we could connect all the problems that we have together, I'll be the justice mayor. But I want to open your eyes to something other than social our injustice system. In the early 1980s, in the Reagan administration eliminated federal subsidies for state-run mental institutions. The problem of homelessness in America resulted directly from widespread dumping of mentally ill patients into inadequate outpatient programs in communities over 30 years ago. Advances in drug treatments for mental illness may have made it possible for most patients to re-enter society, but only if society can provide adequate outpatient treatment programs and housing. In most cases, the state-run facilities no longer exist to provide hospital-level care as well as housing to the homeless population that requires them. Living up to our responsibilities to care for and house mentally ill members of society will go a long way towards solving the homelessness problem. Fast forward to now, Trump's proposed budget would cut $4.3 billion or 12% from housing, while New York City currently has 275 homeless shelters, and one homeless shelter for children, for adolescents. The city pays about $400,000 a day for hotel rooms and what they entitle cluster housing, private cluster housing sites. The city pays $400,000 a day for hotel rooms alone, which is $146 million a year. Yet conditions at these alternate sites, where 18,000 are currently housed, as described as horrendous, and many of whom refuse to go to the decrepit and overcrowded shelters. People are shifted from one inadequate form of temporary housing to another. Conditions are especially abysmal for homeless families, some with, or most with, no kitchens or individual bathrooms. In New York City, we also have a problem of throughout the U.S., I bet, we have a problem with giving adequate information. When I talk about there's only 18,000 homeless in New York, this is per day, just so you know. They're not giving you per year. And then on top of that, that's those that can fit into our 275 housing units. And so the information seems like we have a small problem with housing 18,000 in a city of 221 million. Or so it looks askewed, and all of our information is that way. But if you don't tell the truth, the full truth, is that not a lie? Shelters, not homes, should be short-term while decent, as permanent housing is obtained. New Yorkers spend months or even years in various forms of temporary housing. De Blasio, that's our incumbent right now, de Blasio's policies do nothing to find permanent homes for the sheltered population. The proposed plan of de Blasio to reduce homelessness, the homeless population by 2,500, which is only 4%, is pathetic and small, is pathetically small and spans over the next 5 years. During his current time in office, de Blasio suspended the construction of new homeless shelters for 8 months in 2015 due to the opposition from business interests and not in my backyard sentiments whipped up in local communities. This year, we're nearly 2/3, excuse me, let me restate this. This is a city, New York City, where 2/3 of its residents suffer from severe economic hardship. But the New York City rental market is the second most highest expensive in the country. Median rent for a one-bedroom apartment is nearly $3,000 a month. New York City Housing Authority, that's NYCHA, the largest public housing system in U.S., with a total population of at least 400,000 poor and working class tenants, already backlogged $17 billion for repairs, and faces a budget crisis due to anticipated cut of $75 million in federal funds. Water leaks and rampant mold routinely go unaddressed for months or even years. Whole buildings are becoming unlivable, adding to the homeless population. De Blasio's broken promises, from housing to education to healthcare, retirement, the drive to maximize profits means increasing misery for workers and their families. Housing is essential, but it's not sufficient. Housing alone, without attention to healthcare, behavioral health, employment, and education, and other supports, will continue to result in instability and recurrent homelessness for many people. Housing is essential, as I said, but it's not sufficient. We need all services. Healthcare is a service. Childcare is a service. Transportation is a service. So are case management, substance abuse treatment, and supported employment. When we don't do work in all these fields, we're not looking at things pinpointed, or we're only at this point looking at things pinpointed. And so we can't see how I'm not just the Justice Mayor, but everything ties into the Justice Department. Our comptroller, who's running right now for office, our public advocate, James Lane, who's running right now for office. We have the vision of what it takes to make a new New York. We live in a city that keeps us blinded and tells us about and not just the city, in the country, about the American dream. But what is the definition of a dream? It's a false reality. It's not real. It's not real time. And so, if we keep on living in a dream, when we wake up, this is what we wake up to. We need to start doing something about not just the inequality, but the disenfranchised. Those that go to jail are not aliens, or those that are being put through immigration are not alien. We're all human beings, but we tend to look at everyone else as though they're not equal to us. Yet they were built on our backs, my forefathers' backs. And this is the city that and this is the government that we live in, taking advantage of the fact that they no longer want us here. And so what that looks like now is 4 of my best friends growing up no longer live in New York. So I'm out best friends anymore because we can't afford to live in the cities that we built. And so what do we do now? Do we continue complaining, or do we come together? Do we continue to complain after we get the orange man in office? Or do we continue to build? In our city, we have a problem where Green Party candidates or Green Party, the Green Party members need a structure that depicts something of a team. We don't have enough, yet we have enough. We've had enough. So we have to come to the point where we're working together, whether I'm young to you guys, whether I'm not, or whether I'm black, or let's stop looking at the differences and learn what we have in common so that we can change what we're complaining about. Just to end this all, I just want to let it be known, my brother didn't die in vain. And so whether I win or not, my goal, and I know I only have 1 minute, so I'm going to keep it real brief. My goal isn't to win this mayoral election. If it happens, it happens. But my goal and my responsibility, which is everyone's responsibility here and out there, is to spark the interest or the thing that makes someone come. And we keep on, if I keep on complaining about how dirty it is out there, someone's going to come and want to clean it up eventually. It's our job to continuously bring up the dirt that goes on so that my brother didn't die in vain. My mother didn't die in vain. And whether I win, like I said, or not, I'm still going to do my part as a human being. Thank you.
All right. Just so I clear up a rumor, when the housing cuts go through, if they go through on July 29th, it'll be true. I'll be with those brothers and sisters ready to start the revolution in this country if they go through with the housing cuts on July 29th. You guys should join everybody that's having housing demonstrations across the country. There's one in every city across the country on July 29th. Literally millions of people that are in housing are facing housing cuts. So, our next speaker is a new Green from the Green Party. He is a candidate for governor of New Jersey, a native of Vermont, Seth Copperdell. Seth Copperdell. That's why he told me that. Seth Copperdell. He has been a co-pastor at Reformed Church of Highland Park, New Jersey, together with his wife, Stephanie, for the past 16 years. From his pulpit, he has not only preached, but has there we go. He has pushed his entire congregation to fight against injustice. He has launched a multitude of nonprofits working to house the homeless and to defend immigrant rights and put an end to solitary confinement and a multitude of other issues. Today, he is leading the electoral struggle in his church and in New Jersey at the top of the ticket. Without further ado, Seth Copperdell. Sorry for butchering your name.
I have to say I find great pleasure in that because Sherry, I've just been calling you Sherry because I keep saying your last name wrong too. So, you know what? We're going to get to a place where everybody knows how to say all of our names because the names of folks connected with the Greens in elections across this country are going to start being recognizable names because the actions we take and the things we stand for are going to start to matter to people who aren't in this room already, but people who will know that this room is a place where real vision is born. So I want to actually have a title for this keynote. I had a chance last night to do a lengthy town hall, and thank you to many of you who came out and spent an hour and a half listening to me with no notes. So today I actually wrote a keynote because I wanted to focus in a particular way on something that I felt is a national message. The title is The Administrative Skills, the Policy Awareness, the Creativity, and the Morals to Run a Government. Greens, you've got thousands of potential candidates. Up until I decided to run for governor and receive the blessing of the Green Council back in October last year, I have had one identity, Pastor Seth Copperdale. I'm a pastor because I became steeped in liberation theology. I never would have become a pastor if I hadn't discovered liberation theology in college. Liberation theology is that faith isn't about pie in the sky after we die. Faith is about transformation, about all things on earth as they are in heaven. So that prayer that we say, on earth as it is in heaven, it's about this earth and changing this earth. That's what faith is about. Those who are grounded in liberation theology believe that the last are first. And that means, for one, that those who are last should be our first concern in terms of prioritizing resources and attention. But it means much more than that. It means that the last and those who are deeply committed to living among the last in righteous struggles for justice and for beauty shall become first in terms of leadership. Let me say that again. Those who have been last and those whose moral convictions put them square in the middle of righteous struggles, square in the middle of marginalized communities, and right in the middle of the issues of a dying planet, they are most prepared to lead. With that as the way of seeing the world, my congregation has gone from almost closing its doors 16 years ago with 35 people left in the building to being a church of 500. We've gone from being a church that was all white, except for one black guy married to a white woman, to being a church with 55 countries represented through first-generation immigrants, as well as incredible diversity from those who've been in this country for hundreds of years. We have 3,500 people in our building each week for programs that make the world more beautiful. And to us, anything that makes the world more beautiful and more just is ministry. So whether that's AA every day, or deaf and hard of hearing societies, or capoeira, or any other kind of dance school, or worship services in Chinese and Indonesian, and Jewish services on Saturdays, and Buddhist services on Thursdays, it all belongs in our church. Our little congregation has, quite frankly, changed our town and impacted our region in very, very positive ways. And each day of my 16 years in ministry has been about committing to and empowering those who are beaten down, those who are mourning, and those who are prevented from inheriting the earth. I believe that being a religious leader is a career that has tremendous potential to affect change in local society. That's why I became a minister. And I actually offer this partly out loud as a challenge to Greens. I think that the faith communities around this country there are organizations that need to be claimed by the Greens. That if the diversity that we need is going to come about, the Christian right has destroyed the perception of what it means to be grounded in justice. We can take back the faith communities. A central mandate to the calling that I've taken on is to embody the practice of loving your neighbor as yourself. And if you really commit to that and commit to listening to your neighbors, the local ones, you'll have a lifetime of meaningful work to do. If you really listen to your neighbors and connect the dots between your neighbors and the issues that plague the world, you'll find yourself caring not only about your local neighbors, but about the global injustices, and you'll be led to engage. Doing my job well has been about listening and learning. It's been about jumping into deep waters on the side of love and justice with fear and trepidation. It's been about taking risks for the sake of love. I've been marrying gay couples for 10 years before the state ever said it was okay that I do it. The last should be first. We added solar panels to the church roof and focused on greening our property before going green was cool. The earth is last, so it shall be first. It's been about responding to the immigration insanity in this country, the racial and ethnic cleansing masquerading as immigration policy, by writing bills as a congregation to protect ethnic minorities and working those bills through the U.S. House and Senate. The last are first. Doing my job well has been about leading immigration rally after immigration rally. It's been about moving people into our building for 11 months when they were put on ankle monitors and told they had to leave on a certain day. We said, just move in on that day instead. It's been about pounding on the door of ICE in Washington until they actually let those 9 people who stayed in for 11 months stay in this country. The last are first. Doing my job well has been not only to learn about mass incarceration, but to respond to that narrative by building houses for people coming out of jail. The last are first. To do my job well has been to not only despair about the lack of resources for folks reentering society, but about building Neighbor Corps reentry services. The last are first. To do it well is not only despairing about the lack of Medicaid dollars for mental health services for the poor, but building a no-fee mental health clinic for the poor in central New Jersey. The last are first. To do my job well is not only despair about the Iraq War, but to build housing for homeless veterans whose lives are forever changed by what they've seen and done. The last are first. To do my job well is to not only despair about the lack of clarity about finishing the recovery after Hurricane Sandy, but building a nonprofit for long-term recovery that's organized around volunteerism, and we've completed 200 homes now. The last are first. Yeah. To do my job well has been to not only despair about the global refugee crisis, but get ourselves approved as a refugee resettlement site by the State Department so we could start bringing refugees straight to our town. And we've resettled 24 refugees since Donald Trump became president of this country. So these are some of the works that I've created and I've encouraged in my congregation and its web of nonprofits. Responses for and by and with the people who are last. And here are 3 things that I've learned in the process. One, I've grown into being an administrator. I didn't have those skills at the beginning, but getting down and dirty in this work, you learn how to administrate or you give up and you give it to someone else who could do it better. But I've learned about myself that I can administrate things. Secondly, I've learned that victims of the world's abuses also can administrate things and also can shape policies, because the very best times that I've been successful with any of these things that I've started have been when I've come side by side with somebody who's actually been the last, and I've recognized that the last are more first than those who come alongside the last, right? They're the first. I can't tell you how often it is that we get someone out of detention who's been sitting 18 months in a for-profit hellhole in Elizabeth Detention Center, and within 3 weeks, they've finally got a place to sleep, and they've got food, and now they're the ones going back inside that detention center to speak French with other French speakers from Burkina Faso. It's unbelievable to see how quickly the last, when they're given the resources, they don't stay last for long. They become the new first who serve the new last that we recognize, and there's always a new last until justice and peace embrace. And thirdly, by being a pastor and community organizer who connects with real suffering people and with a network of organizations that work with victims of the world's abuses, I have become angry. I have become exceedingly angry. I'm angry at the leeches at the top who rob the commons and take away beauty. I'm angry about the neoliberal agenda. I'm angry about the privatization of everything, sickened by the greed that drives our system. I'm disgusted with the upper middle class who prop up the system year after year by voting to continue the mediocrity. I'm angry and disgusted, but I also know how it happens, that people buy the lie. For I myself am a new green. Pastor, I got to do some confessional here too. I have most of my life pulled the lever for the lesser of two evils, never believing until recently that there's a different political possibility. Most of the work that I've done has been way downstream. Most of the work I've done is to lift people up after they've been thrashed in the brutal streams of destruction that flow from top-down oligarchs that run this banana republic that's masquerading as a democracy. I have been very happy serving as a social justice pastor, but I cannot do that any longer without also challenging the political systems directly by running for office. I'm tired of only throwing stones at tanks. I will keep throwing stones at tanks, but I now want to climb into those tanks and beat them into plowshares and pruning hooks. Garden tools for a new day. And then I want to cut the funds. I want to cut the funds for all future weapons of any kind of warring madness. So why did I just tell all of you, the Green Party National Convention, about me and about myself? Why didn't I just sit here and rattle off my specific green policies and unpack the pillars? Well, I didn't do that because here this morning I'm in front of the choir. This choir knows the issues, and in fact, you've spent the past day and a half going deeper into your own thoughts and taking the issues even further. But what I think I can offer to you today is this. The Republicans and Democratic machines know where to find their candidates. They know how to groom them to fit the needs of the wealthy few. They know whose pockets need to be lined along the way. They know the types of career paths and the necessary connections that legitimize someone as being worthy to hold high office. Governor, senator, House. They know who to groom and how to groom them so that they can masquerade as candidates for the people. But these parties know where to find their candidates and how to mold them. They know it well. And so must we. We need to get to that space. I believe that the Green Party has the potential to dominate politics in America in this age if we begin to look for our candidates among those who are steeped in communities as leaders of nonprofits, social action groups, public education, public health organizations, environmental organizations, and religious communities. Our ranks are filled with people who know how to run things, who know the issues that create poverty and hurt, have dreamt up solutions, and have collaborated with others to pull things off with limited funds. Our ranks are filled with people who are not tied to the corporatocracy, who are not self-seeking and hoping to get rich, people who break the stranglehold by who they are and by who they are not. Our ranks in the nonprofit and faith-driven world are incredibly diverse. There's no reason on earth why the Green Party in America shouldn't be the blackest, brownest, most Native American party in America. For these are the, I got 1 minute. For these are the people who are leading the advocacy fight for justice and peace and who run the churches and mosques and nonprofits in the most underserved communities all around America. Our ranks are filled with people who are angry and hopeful, people who haven't given up, but who are instead digging in. So what can I offer you this year? First, I can offer myself, a green governor working in Trenton on behalf of the people of New Jersey, modeling something for the country. And what else? I can offer to you the constant reminder that you, in the work you already do, as organizers and as workers in the helping professions, are in the presence each and every day of potential candidates for office. In fact, the next candidate may be you. Thanks so much.
Boy, looks like I'll be making a lot of trips over to New Jersey. Okay, so I want to announce, I want to thank people for raising another $600 for the 197. And Asantua is back there going like this. Can you go like this? If people are interested in signing up to concretely try to figure out how to get me back into housing in the 197, you can give her your name over there. Thank you. Because while we're raising funds to change the world, while we're raising, yes? Oh, she's right over there. Thank you very much. Huh? Thank you. Another contribution for the 197. Thank you so much. So you just go back and talk to Asantewaa, because as we're raising money to fight the corruption in the 197 and support different candidates, we also want to figure out how to put a bunch of people, including myself, back into a house. So without any further ado, this man didn't, toss me a bio or anything about him. He's incredibly humble, a long-time fighter, somebody who was instrumental, along with Dr. Jill Stein, in raising money, putting their mouth where, it needed to be, raising money for the 197. I am forever grateful to both Jill and Ajamu. But this man, I knew him before coming into the Green Party. When the pastor earlier talked about morals, if you would look in the dictionary, you would see Ajamu Baraka. He's somebody you don't have to run around and convince, is he going to sell out? Is he going to take the wrong position? He's clearly the person that's got 99 problems and internal bullshit ain't one. And again, I just want to say he's been a long time human rights defender, a pioneer in this country in bridging many different communities and understanding that if we all don't get together and build a raft and get the hell off the Titanic, we're all going to sink. My vice president, and definitely a mentor, Ajamu Baraka.
Thank you, Sherry, and thank everyone here at this historic gathering. I'm going to keep my remarks relatively short. We have a lot of work to do this morning, but I definitely want to take this opportunity to really sincerely thank all of you. Not just because you are here today, that's important, of course, but to thank all of you who believe in this mission, who believe in the possibility that we can be more than what we are today, who put yourselves on the front line for that vision. When everyone told us that, we should just surrender and give our support to the lesser of two evils, you said, no, we're going to stand for principle, we're going to struggle, we're going to organize, we're going to try to win. So I thank all of you for your hard work for our campaign. I had a chance to meet and to greet many of you as we moved around this country. Like you, we were a little surprised that our results weren't more than what they said they were in terms of the numbers. But as I said during the campaign, and Jill said the same thing, we could not lose. Because if you understand what the campaign and what this party is all about, if you understand it's about building alternative power, if you understand it's about having real democracy, then we can't and we did not lose at all. So My friends, we have more work to do. We are facing a difficult situation in this country, but we know that the people are looking for alternatives. Our responsibility is to be that alternative. And that's why we're here this weekend, to dialogue among ourselves, to figure out how we strengthen ourselves so that we, in fact, can become that alternative structure. So there has to be a sense of seriousness this weekend as we debate and contemplate and analyze and plan for the future. We've got to understand and really understand our potential. You know, my friends, this month has been for myself 1 year being more active with this party. In fact, in a couple of weeks, it will be 1 year that I was down in Colombia living a good life. Getting up and going to the gym, and, you know, I did my writing and I did my political work, you know, back in the U.S. And then I got a call from Jill Stein. And Jill said, are you standing up? I said, yeah. She said, you might want to sit down. So I sat down, and she talked to me about the possibility of joining her in the adventure that the Green Party and the campaign was organizing. And we talked. And I said, well, Jill, let me think about it, and let's talk again in a couple of days. And we did that. And I said, Jill, let's go ahead and do it. And my life has not been the same since. So, so I'm kind of like Donald Trump. Donald Trump said that he kind of missed his old life. Thank you, Jill. Right. So, my friends, I'm not going to belabor this very long. You know, one of the things that I learned as part of this campaign was that, you know, the people are ready. The people are ready for change, and we have to always remind ourselves of that. We have to talk about this weekend how we get ourselves ready to facilitate that change. And I'm going to just touch on a few points. I think one thing that we have to do is to maintain the integrity of who we are, which means that the idea, the principle of the Green Party always remaining independent has to be front and center. It has to be absolutely clear that we are different from both parties. Maintaining our integrity has to be front and center. We can't talk about 2020, my friends. We've got to talk about how we position this party for 2018, which means that we have to seriously come up with strategies to make sure that we take full advantage of the struggles that are taking place on the state and local levels. Understanding that what happens in 2018 really positions us for 2020. Not only in terms of what we might do on the presidential level, but the kind of strengthening of our party apparatus that's absolutely necessary. That we have to have effective candidates and effective party building processes to make sure that we are positioned to take advantage of 2020 and to be able to withstand the criticism that we know will be directed at us when we decide that we're going to continue this quest for democracy here in this country. One of the things we have to do in getting prepared for 2020 is to talk about how we identify candidates. We have to not only vet our candidates, but we also have to slightly change our approach to how we have people running under the label of the Green Party. You know, we talked about during the campaign that this campaign was about strengthening the apparatus. It was also about linking up with social movements. That we saw the Green Party as being the electoral arm of the social change movement here in this country. We've got to move to make that real, go beyond the rhetoric. We've got to have a strategy that says we link up with social change organizations, and that becomes the linkage, that becomes the entry point for participating in the electoral process. We can't just go out and just ask people to run as individuals. Sometimes people who have a base, oftentimes they don't. What we have to do is have a strategy in which we link up with social change movements. We convince them that this is an approach as part of a broader strategy that can be utilized to build alternative popular power. But that means that we've got to be linked to those social movements. It means that we have to look at our practice in our various states. It means we have to understand that if we don't have very good relationships with social change agents and social movements, grassroots organizations, then we have to build those connections. We have to engage in relationship building. So we've got to think in terms of a developmental approach to how we really build this Green Party systematically. One issue that is not going to go away, that will also distinguish this party from the other bourgeois parties, is the issue of war and peace. Now, we know we have other issues that we have to address. We have been taking a lead in opposing the continuation, well, some of us, the continuation of the ACA and advocating for this being the moment to reintroduce into the public discourse improve Medicare for all. That's important. That's one of those critical issues that we have to embrace. But the next big issue, short term, that we have to be and should be out in front on is this issue of housing. That is critical. And that is one of those issues that cuts across class, race, and nationality. So I would encourage folks to take a look at that issue in your states and on the local level in terms of how the Green Party connects up with this next short-term battle. But the longer-term struggle that will be in place in 2018 and beyond, because it's so critical for the ruling class to embrace and try to utilize, is this issue of war and militarism, anti-imperialism. That is the issue that when people think of being anti-war and think of a major party being anti-imperialist, they should think automatically of the Green Party. So my friends, that has to be our issue. It really does, because it cuts across so many other sectors. It centers a moral issue around what kind of society do we want to be, and what are our responsibilities to people outside of the borders of the U.S. And it also deals with the issue of how we utilize our critical resources. So, my friends, that is an issue that we have to embrace. That is an issue that provides us an entry point into various communities. And I would strongly encourage the Green Party to continue to embrace that issue, but to become even more visible on that issue. And lastly, my friends, part of our efforts in doing the work here in this country is to be very clear about who we are and what it is that we are trying to attain. Now, most of us, and I think that the message that we are trying to project is that our bottom line position is that we believe that we have to have fundamental change here in this country. But that has to be the message that people also associate with this party. That we are the party for fundamental change. We are, in fact, the party that believes in revolutionary change as a baseline starting point. And we don't have to be shy about that. There's nothing wrong with revolution, especially when you are living in the midst of oppression. These are revolutionary times. And we have to take that word and give it real meaning. That is not just about engaging in armed struggle or anything like that. It's about recognizing that we cannot be the society we need to be. We cannot be the people that we need to be unless we transform every aspect of this society, including ourselves. To be committed to revolutionary change also means to be committed to changing ourselves. It means that we have to revolutionize ourselves. When Fred Hampton, Chairman Fred Hampton, told us 50 years ago to repeat after him, I am a revolutionary, that meant something. It meant more than having the correct analysis. It meant that you had to transform yourselves. It meant that you had to comport yourself in your behavior that corresponded with the kind of human being that we wanted to create. It means that we can't operate like the other bourgeois parties. It means that when we have elections for our steering committees, that we elect people based on their principles and politics, and we don't engage in character assassinations. It means, my friends, that we have to embody those kinds of principles, as hard as it can be sometimes. So being a revolutionary is something that we have to embody, and I would strongly encourage us to do that, and do that in ways that we make sure that our structures are revolutionary structures. That is, that our structures are spaces where people will feel welcome, where it will be reflective of the society that we live in and the societies we want to try to build. Which means that part of that process of transforming ourselves is rooting out all of those contradictions. You know, as a man living in a patriarchal society, a sexist patriarchal society, I cannot help but have been profoundly impacted by that. And part of my responsibility, struggling against male privilege and patriarchy, is to continue that struggle. The moment that I believe that I have reached some point of understanding and I'm no longer a patriarch or I'm no longer sexist, that's when I've taken a step backward. And my friends, it is the same thing with growing up in a white supremacist settler colonial state. That basically all of us have been impacted by that. Not just white folks, but all of us. And that part of our responsibility is to root that out. Not only in terms of how we think and see the world, but to be opposed to those structures that perpetuate, that continue white supremacy and white power. And that's difficult. But we have to, in fact, do that. That's the only way we can make our spaces inclusive. That's the only way we can build a revolutionary movement. It means we've got to root out in this Green Party every aspect, every expression, acknowledge and not acknowledge. We have to root it out of this party. We have to root it out of this party because we have to root it out of the broader society. No, this white supremacy is deadly on so many different levels. I mean, part of the way in which the ruling class is able to mobilize support for its interventions around the world is based on this notion, and I'm part of a community that helped to create this notion of humanitarian intervention. This ideal that the U.S. has some moral right to intervene on behalf of people, that its intervention has some kind of moral authority and more moral support. And it plays right into this thing, this white savior thing that we have in this society. And the consequences have been deadly, not only for the people that the U.S. has impacted directly, the aggressions in Afghanistan and in Iraq, the attack on Libya, the war that's taking place in Syria, the lack of resistance to what was happening, what unfolded in the Ukraine, the coup in Honduras, the so-called revolution in Egypt, and it goes on and on. We have to make sure that we root out these moral arguments that can be advanced to cover what we are really dealing with, which is basically naked U.S. imperialism. And we have to make that connection between our opposition to U.S. imperialism and militarism and our opposition to militarism and repression domestically. Now, that connection has to be made. Now, we could say, and I think it's very important for more and more European Americans to talk about the fact that Black Lives Matter. That's important. You know, it's backward that we have to say it, but it's important to, in fact, say it. But it's also vitally important to understand that, you know, sometimes in some ways that can be kind of easy too. If you don't say and don't understand that Palestinian lives matter, that the lives of the people in Yemen matter, in the Congo, in Honduras, in Venezuela. If you don't understand and you can't make that connection, then you don't twist up your mouth and talk about Black Lives Matter because you don't understand. So my friends, we have a lot of work to do. I think that in fact we can do it. We have the principles to in fact be the leaders that we need to be here in this country. And it has been a joy being with you, struggling with you. And I look forward to the transformation that we are in fact going to be making both internally and in the broader society. So thank you for your participation. Thank you for your work. And let's make history.
Okay, stay standing. Before I turn this back over to Daryl, whatever social media folks are here, I want you to do me a favor. Please don't leave yet, guys. There's a really important friend of ours who is on the front page of Green Party News that has recently come home. And I'm hoping that all of us, on the count of three, can welcome Reverend Pinckney home. And that we can zap all these videos, or however the hell you guys do this stuff, and send it to him, send it to Reverend Pinckney and Dorothy, because this will make their hearts just, glow. And those of you that have, extra money laying around in buckets, it's hard when you come home from prison, and you should send them a check. But let's on the count of three, let's do a real strong welcome home, Reverend Pinckney, and then everybody send it to him. Okay, 1, 2. Are social media folks ready? They've been ready. Okay, good. On the count of three, 1, 2, 3. Welcome home, Reverend Pinckney. Woo! Without further ado, let's turn it back to the man of the hour, Daryl.
Well, thank you all for your comments and support. We are going to attempt to move ourselves quickly. There are two other things that are on our agenda this morning, and one was scheduled to take an hour, and the other one was scheduled to take closer to that too. Clearly, we don't have 2 more hours left before the 12 o'clock workshops. So we are going to do those 2 parts in a sort of shortened version. And I'll tell you what they are. One is we're going to introduce the staff to you, and the staff are going to talk a little bit about what they do and how they can serve as a resource for you all. I got you in the national party throughout your state, your locals and candidates and all of that. And then we were going to have a conversation with the steering committee and secretary candidates. And since there is a very, very, very nice, detailed, wonderful streaming dialogue with those candidates, we're going to shorten that just a tad and give them an opportunity to speak. And I think Chris is going to come and lead that part, and he's going to have them talk more about their, in a couple of minutes each, their vision. So candidates, just that's the heads up. So you're not on the hot seat as much as you would have been if it had been an hour of debate and discussion and questions and all of that. Okay, good. And I want to take a moment to acknowledge 3 tables over, if you all will wave your hands over here, that we have the beginning of the formation of the U.S. Green Party's Indigenous Caucus. So I know that Darlene, myself, Andrea, Merida, and Jill and others have been pushing from all of our different corners of the world. There may be others as well who've been pushing from our various corners of the world to help make this happen. And so I know that we're very excited to have this beginning as we go along as well. And so we're looking forward to that. And I know that there is a diversity caucus, Jesus. There is a disability caucus or a differently abled caucus. I'm not sure how they'll be called, that has been talking about for a while about forming. And so we're looking forward to that coming online at some point, potentially as well. And some others that other marginalized communities that we're wanting to make sure their voices are heard and felt within the ranks of our party. So I'm going to ask the staff to come up for a few moments. Some of them you probably know well. Some of you know well. Some of you that are new probably don't know them at all. And so we want to introduce them to you. And the this is a piece that I just sort of affectionately called the National Party Resource and Collaboration Initiative. I like to make up titles for things, and what I discovered along the way is that our staff are extremely gifted and talented in so many ways. I've been honored to be able to be one of the 2 staff supervisors during this time with Andrea, and we've had a great. We have regular meetings where we talk and they share with each other. They're working together. They formed a union. Adrian is around somewhere. Adrian, we need you. Come organize us. So they are professionals with a tremendous amount of experience and work that can help what you all are doing out there in your area and the work that you do. We're going to do that. They all have different roles. Stay with me. And but they can assist you in building your base. They can assist you in building and managing your brand and how do you get out there and do what you need to do. And beyond the work that they do in their jobs, they're talented in so many other ways. And so we're going to go through a little bit, and they're going to get a couple of minutes to just sort of give you a highlight of what they do. There is, I think, going around the table should be in a few moments. I think Chris and some others are going to pass around to you. There's a whole bunch at the merch table, so that look like this. This is a little short sort of bios and information about the staff and sort of what they do and their pictures. Has also, here he is, also their email addresses on here. We wanted to make sure that you had something in your hand that you could take. I see that. You're right. There was a third one. Yes, I'm gonna need you. I'm gonna need you not to start that next year. They do really great work. They work hard. We have 4 that are full time and 1 that is part time. Starlene is not with us. She was unable to travel. And we were going to Skype her in, but she's in Oregon, and she was awake, and she didn't want to stay awake, and then so I told her to go back to sleep. But we do have information about her, so we're going to just kind of go through this and see what we've got here. So, what Green Party staff members can do to help state parties and others. So one of this is the overall objective is about collaboration, right? Forming collaboratives and opportunities for us to work together even more. And but then there are 3 key components to those collaborations, and those are committees and individuals and candidates. And so we want to talk a little bit more about how they can do what it is that they do in their individual ways. So Starlene, who's not here, is our development manager and fundraising director. And so Starlene is responsible for the work that we do that brings the funds into the party to make it happen, to make what we do happen on the national level. And so she is able to be a resource for you in terms of how do you develop a fundraising plan for your state, for your local, for your campaign, for your candidate. What does that look like? What kinds of letters can you send? And she can give you examples and sets of materials that will help you to be able to craft these for yourself. One of the key things that on an earlier slide is that the staff are here to help us. They're not here to do it for you. Right? Because they've already got their whole job to do. And so if all of you ask for something, they couldn't possibly do that in their jobs too. So they will help you be able to do the things that you want to do and give you insight and the resources to that. So Starlene goes on to tell us a little bit more about fundraising for the party and what she does, managing Nation Builder, setting up the donation pages, producing and sending out e-blasts, managing our Sustainer program, and producing several direct mail letters each year. These are also things that you may do in your locals or your states or as candidates. These are things that you might do as well. And so she would be able to help you sort of craft that kind of stuff to be able to do what you're wanting to do to build your work. She writes content and production for our Green Line newsletter, which is there. We do donor appreciation, list building for those folks that might be donors, making calls and fundraising planning the fundraiser for the annual national meeting, which is later tonight, and we'd love for you all to come. There's a suggested donation of $25, but nobody is turned away, and so we want you to come and give until it stops hurting, meaning until it stops hurting out there. Give so that we can keep making it better. Our major donor program, Bequests and Gifts, and she works often in collaboration with with the other staff as well. So you can contact her. Her email, all their emails are basically similar to them. Cynthia's the one that has a slightly different one. They're all their first name at gp.org, with the exception of Cynthia, which is Cynthia_Joseph@gp.org. And Starlene's Twitter handle is Green Starlene as well. Our next person is Adrian.
So are you going to do the slide?
I will.
Microphone. Oh, these are on.
You guys could sit down. I guess I forgot. It's fine.
I like standing. Yeah, me too. Okay. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Adrian Boutureda, and I became staff 2 minutes. On February 15th, I believe.
Yes.
So it's been quite an interesting journey, to say the least. The challenges are immense, but so are the opportunities, right? So one has to always decide whether we look at the glass half empty or half full. I have the half full approach, and it's been very, very, very interesting. For those of you that were able to attend my workshop yesterday, the initial step in terms of having a real bird's eye view of what is going on out there across the states. Clearly, we are a federation of state parties, but we're also a party that shares a common set of objectives and values. A lot of that was shared earlier. So we are definitely in the process of continuing to figure out how we can achieve greater functionality in terms of collaboration mostly. How can we get our states and our local and state parties to work in closer collaboration with the national resources that we do have available? And so, what can I do in terms of direct support? Clearly providing, so we have this, the handout, there is a handout, and I believe that Daryl shared it earlier. So, all of this is in this handout. Most importantly, I have created a national organizing political collaborative for states to start working together towards mutual aid and mutual support. And my role would be to try to facilitate those relationships to the best of my ability, so we can start supporting each other and we can start sharing critical resources and critical capacity, because we have a wealth of information, we have a wealth of skills, we have a wealth of resources, from bylaws to procedures to organizing, techniques and tactics that are very unique to our constituencies and very unique to what we're trying to advance. So we have to do better at making sure that our states are in greater communication towards achieving our common objectives. I believe that's about it. So I'm going to be here for the rest of the day, and until tomorrow. So please find me if you're interested in your state working together in the collaborative. I believe it's critical. There is also a structural collaboration working group that I believe, Jan, you have started, and that's a fundamental part of the same process that we're trying to sort of create greater cohesion, not from the top down, but horizontally in many ways. So direct communication among states to advance our collective objectives. And, there's lots of opportunities there, and I think I'm done. So who's next?
Next up is David Doonan.
Okay, first off, I'd like to thank my brother Darrell for giving us the staff the opportunity to address the National Convention before. This is the first time it's ever happened. It's extremely meaningful to all of us. So thank you, Darrell. Thank you, the rest of the SC. About my role is the National Web Manager, but I see myself managing, promoting all of our parties and all of our candidates. About 6 or 7 years ago, there was a severe financial crisis in the National Party. It was so bad that there were serious discussions on the NC list about eliminating the national office and eliminating all of the national staff. Thank God we've gotten beyond that. But because of that discussion, I've seen my role as doing everything possible to help all of us. As a former elected official, my passion is to help promote all of our candidates, no matter what office they're running for. Please send me all the information you have. There's multiple ways of distributing it, both on gp.org, as well as social media, as well as other outlets as well. As you can see, well, that's my background. My life has been devoted to the politics and the graphic arts, and I try and do as much of stuff like that to help promote everybody. One thing I request from everybody here, when you go back home, talk to your state and local parties. Make sure my email address is on all of your distribution lists. What's happened in the past, as state or local parties have new elections and new officers come in, my email address drops off, and all of a sudden I'm not getting the communications back. It's a two-way street to be able to promote everything that you're doing. So the more information you send me, no matter how small or insignificant, I can turn it into a news story and get it posted. And that's the one thing you should realize too, is a lot of what's posted on our news pages is indexed by Google News within just a couple of minutes. So it's a much broader reach than you would normally think. And one of the great things about appearing at events like this is meeting you all. Some of you have known, most of you I don't. I was speaking earlier to Comey from Chicago. We were kicking around ideas, and he's going to be getting content to me about face-to-face stories about people on the front line, what they're doing to organize within their communities, not just for the communities, but also for the Green Party. So anybody that has any ideas, please approach me. I'm here to help as much as possible. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Good morning? Good morning. All right. Well, I am Cynthia Joseph. I am the office manager at the national office. I started out part-time about a year and a half ago, January 2016, the day after a snowstorm. I had 1 day of training, and then I was on my own. It reminded me of when I learned to swim. This guy named Rock, who was a patron of my mother's nightclub, had a big bar tab, and he couldn't pay it. So he had an ingenious idea to teach my mother, say it right, her youngest child how to swim. My mother agreed. Rock taught me one basic move, and that was the dog paddle. Figuring this fundamental maneuver, Rock taught me one basic move, dog paddling. Figuring this fundamental maneuver would make me more proficient in the water. I learned very quickly, and I liked it. After several exercises to instill confidence came the ultimate test, leaping off the high board. I stood at the edge and looked down. I was terrified. With his arms outstretched, the stoutly man treading water below said, "Don't worry, I'll catch you." Holding my breath, not to mention my nerve, I jumped off the high diving board into the waters 13 feet deep and touched bottom. That's when the instincts kicked in. My arms and legs flailed wildly, propelling me to the surface. My head barely above water, I looked up, and there was Rock, smiling. I thought he would hug me. He didn't. I thought he would pull me to the edge. He didn't. What he did was float 2 feet ahead of me, crying out, "Come on, baby, paddle, you can do it, come to me." So I paddled like there was no tomorrow. He led me to the edge of the pool, and at the time, I was only 3 years old. Little did I know that this was one of the most valuable lessons that I learned in life. You have to trust yourself and learn to trust others. You have to jump into the water and know in your heart there will always be someone there to catch you. Ain't that right, David? So now, thank you. So now I'm in year 2, and can you hear me now? I'm in year 2. I have a PNC in the books and 2 A&Ms in the rearview mirror. The learning curve was quick out of necessity. Overcoming challenges tapped into some long-lost skill sets while developing new ones. Through discovery comes growth, inspiring confidence. But I must confess, I wasn't alone in my effort. I engaged with my fellow staff members, often seeking support and advice. We developed an information sharing system enabling us to become more effective and productive. Our bond is our strength, allowing us to better serve you. Our communication skills are our source of pride. We've each produced thoughtful, provocative pieces that represent the party well. And we employ solid communicative techniques in our roles so that your outlets can maximize its resources to better serve your communities. Our combined research revealed that for many of you, the national office is a mystery. We have collectively believed that changing this dynamic will yield dividends for all of us. This forum is our way of opening the door of communication so that you can take full advantage of what we have to offer. Thank you.
So one of the things I want to just add in around with Cynthia's work, part of her work is going forward is with our Speakers Bureau. AnLink has managed that and run that with a team of folks for a long time. And Cynthia is going to be working with other members of the staff to help us create a more robust process for being able to get folks speaking and get our visibility up and out there and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be really great with the skill set that she brings to the table, and that with Scott and Adrienne and David and Starlene really making things happen. Scott.
Thanks, Darrell. I'm Scott. I'm the Green Party's media director and also a brand new Wobbly. And I'm gonna give you a lot of information, all within a short time, so get out your pens and pencils. To begin with, let me talk about what I do. I prepare press releases, handle distribution. Very often, we forward selected state, local, and campaign releases. If you have a press release or news advisory that you're publishing, please send it to me. I need to receive it. Scott@gp.org. I also help Green parties, Green state, local parties, and campaigns with press releases. I'm not going to write it for you, but I will help you edit it. Again, contact me, Scott@gp.org. I serve as contact for news media. I conduct workshops and seminars. I'll do a workshop for your state or local party, or even for your campaign. Again, contact me. What was my email address again? Thank you. I organize media events at annual national meetings. We had 3 press conferences earlier during this meeting, which you can watch on you can watch online. I coordinate news media and social media, and I promote Greenstream, which is our live stream show. And you'll be hearing more about that in the coming months. Now I want to talk about what Green parties and campaigns can do. And this is very important because, as I always tell everyone, you don't really exist without public presence. And we are all in the business of public relations, and these are the first steps in becoming our own news media. And we need to reach hundreds. We don't need to just reach hundreds of people or thousands of people. We need to reach hundreds of thousands of people and millions of people. That's the only way we're going to emerge as a strong national party. So first of all, you should set up a media outreach operation for your state or local party or your campaign with a media committee or a media director. Again, we can help with that. We can get you access to media contacts. We have subscriptions to a media list, along, with names, media venue, email addresses, phone numbers, etc. Just contact us, and I think you know how to do that by now. You want to issue press releases, news advisories, follow-up calls when you want to grab attention. Now, something that's absolutely important. Every campaign, every state party, every local party should have a media-friendly website. You should have easy-to-find contact information and a JPEG of let's say, a candidate's headshot. It should look professional, even if a professional hasn't done it. And that's so that the reporter can lift that photo off the page and use it in news stories. I said easy to find contact information. Reporters have notoriously short attention spans. If they have to spend more than 30 seconds looking for your phone number, they might give up, and then you've lost news coverage. It's very important that you respond to media calls. If a reporter calls you, answer. If the reporter leaves a message, get back to the reporter as soon as you can. You want to create videos. Put these videos on your website. Put them on social media, so people can see who we are and what we stand for. You want to use social media, of course. I think most people are now plugged into social media, but use it strategically to get attention for yourself and for the party and for all our work and our platform and our principles. One thing that's absolutely important, do media events, do things, be interesting and newsworthy. I often hear Greens complain that the corporate media hate us. And, maybe they do. A lot of them do. However, there's a lot more to the story. Being green doesn't make you newsworthy, doesn't make you interesting. Just being a great candidate and having a great platform, that is actually boring to the media. It's even boring to the public. Do things. Get out there and fight in front of the public. And we saw that with recent presidential campaigns. In 2012, Jill and Sherry, they got arrested twice. Once at a bank in defense of people facing foreclosure. That was in Philadelphia. Once outside the debate venue at Hofstra University on Long Island. That got into the news. Last year, Jill and Ajamu, they participated directly in the Dakota Access Pipeline protest. They got arrested. That made it into the news. You don't have to get arrested to get into the news. There are other things that you can do. I live in Washington, D.C., Washington Post land, and the Washington Post is, they kind of hate us. However, we got in their faces. We held press conferences outside the front door of the Washington Post. They couldn't ignore us. We saw all these faces pressed against the window. We had hip-hop music blaring, and then the hip-hop music stopped, and our candidates got on the microphone. A Post reporter had to come out. They had to cover us. They had to give us a story. And then finally, please distribute Green Party press releases to all your local members, all your local friends, so everybody knows what the Green Party is doing nationally and what Greens are doing around the country. We want everybody to know unless we get attention, unless people know what we're doing, we're not really effective. And then one final last word. If you're a state Green Party, please appoint someone to the National Green Party's Media Committee. And again, contact me. What is my email address? Okay, I trust you've all written this down. Take it home to your state parties and campaigns. Thank you very much.
All right, one last thing before the staff leaves the stage. There has been a lot of talk this weekend about the need for the Green Party to become a revolutionary party. With that in mind, the staff has decided to unionize, and we've all become members of the International Workers of the World, the Wobblies. We've joined that union because it is the most revolutionary union in the country. They don't necessarily believe in politics. The Wobblies are mostly anarchists, but that doesn't matter. We share their values of the workers come first. Once we get officially affiliated, we will be able also to recruit members or employees of state and local parties who are also employed by the local Green parties. So right now we are a 5-member local, but we hope at some point to be much bigger. We are doing this, A, to protect our rights as workers, but B, we were doing it as a political statement to make sure everybody understands the Green Party stands on the side of the working class, the unions, and the disadvantaged. This is an extension of one of our key values of not taking corporate money, of not being part of the duopoly. So this is an extension of that. Thank you.
So I think I can say on behalf of all of the Green Party and all of the steering committee how proud we are and how grateful we are that you choose to serve and work with us, because you probably, with all your background and skills, could be doing it somewhere else. And so we are thankful for all of you, thankful for all of the work that you are doing, some for many, many years. Thank you for your work and your tireless efforts, especially when sometimes it's more hours than are allotted in a day that you give to this work, and we thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you to the volunteer steering committee, without which our work would not be possible. And the work is all interwound. And, you know, we're one party and one union now, too.
So, time check. Okay, great. Ooh, good. So we've got actually 15, almost 20, because it starts at 12 something. So we are good. Okay, so steering committee candidates and secretary candidates, if you would come on up. We will need a few more chairs. It's up to you. I'm sorry. Let me introduce Chris Blankenhorn, who's going to lead this section of today. So,
I'll ask them. Let's arrange over here real quick. Do you guys want to come on stage? You just want to line up? Yeah, line up. Yep. Jostle for your positions. I'm not gonna tell you alphabetical or anything. I'm getting out of the way. Yep. My name is Chris Blankenhorn. I'm a national co-chair of the Green Party of the United States and a co-chair of the Illinois Green Party, as well as an Illinois delegate and advisor to the Youth Caucus. But I had the privilege 1 week ago today, almost exactly a week ago today, to speak to all of these candidates for co-chair. We said we were going to do an hour-long forum. Like many things that happen when you get passionate people talking, it was 2.5 hours long. So we, if you want a real in-depth, if you haven't voted yet, you've got till 5, and you want a real in-depth, understanding of what these candidates actually stand for, hearing it from their own mouths, seeing them talk about it. I highly suggest you watch that. It's got about 400 views, and we've got about 150 delegates. So I'm hoping that all of our delegates have gotten to see it. We didn't do one of these last year, unfortunately, so I'm excited that we were able to do it this year, even though it is in a far more condensed version than we wanted. I would say let's get all the steering committee co-chair candidates in a row, and then maybe the secretaries after, so that we're not mixing in candidates from two different races. But basically, instead of an hour question and answer, which we don't have time for right now, each of the candidates is going to come up and take a couple minutes to introduce themselves, their qualifications for office, and the vision for what they want to see and work on and realize within the Green Party. I can't emphasize enough, as a steering committee member, we're a people-powered party, and so the people that are elected to these positions are actually who do the work, and so I'm excited to serve with my comrades come 5 o'clock Friday. So Michael Dennis has jostled himself to the first of the line, so.
Hey y'all, it's been awesome to see many of you, meet many of you, and give a lot of hugs. So I am a member of the Youth Caucus. I'm the national delegate for the Youth Caucus. I was also the systems manager for the Stein Baraka campaign, as well as deputy campaign manager for Sherry's campaign in the 197. Very briefly, my vision, what I would like to accomplish on the steering committee is, one, I think the national committee and the party structure just needs to be a little more efficient and organized. For example, we need to make sure that we have all the email addresses of our co-chairs of the 50 state parties in an organized fashion. We just have very basic things that we need to work on and get efficient. Secondly, I hope that the steering committee can facilitate a culture on the national committee that is both welcoming and anti-oppression, as well as putting forth proposals. That is the job of the national committee, to propose solutions. We have about 40,000 volunteers, many of which came in through the Stein Baraka campaign, so we're very grateful for those efforts of our candidates and staff and so many people who helped that campaign effort. But we have all those volunteers, and we are not engaging them. So many national committees are understaffed or don't have enough people to do all the work that they need to do, and yet we have 40,000 volunteers sitting in our database. So we need to figure out how to engage those volunteers. And then I believe if we do those things, that national can provide better resources for state parties, which is what we need so that states and locals can run more effective campaigns, both electoral campaigns, but also movement campaigns. And I'll put in a plug for the Youth Caucus that we are looking for a cadre of young Greens in each state, 3 to 5 young Greens, to really start youth organizing in their community and on-campus chapters this fall. So seek out me or Brian Thal, one of our co-chairs. We have Damian Gonzalez around here, one of the Young Greens steering committee members, if you know of some young Greens in your state that might be good for that. So thanks, y'all.
Next up, we have Joy Davis.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joy Davis, and I am one of the co-chairs of the Outreach Committee. And I'd like to thank Hillary for acknowledging us and what we did. I think it's a good thing where we have people that are able to come and participate in these events, because you never get a chance to see, or maybe some people don't experience what we experience. So it's a good thing for us to come and bring our knowledge and experiences to everyone here. I am a member of the Black Caucus. I'm a member of the Accreditation Committee, and I am very passionate about what's happening in our communities now. They're going after people of color, and they're trying to use policies like SB 4 to do this. I don't think we should be criminalizing our immigrants. And then I'm also seeing how we're criminalizing the homeless. And these are things that we have to speak out against. Houston has passed ordinances saying that we cannot even feed the homeless. They cannot even have camps. They can't have any kind of heaters or anything like that. So we definitely have to work on that. So my name is Joy Davis. I'm very nervous. This is my first time getting up and doing something like this, but oh, thank you. Vote for me. Hi, Kenneth.
Next up, we have Andrea Mierda.
Good morning, Greens. How are you? My name is Andrea Merida. I am one of the existing members of the steering committee. I'm the only incumbent that is running for re-election to the steering committee. We've had a good couple of years working with this particular group. We've done some really important work. We've been the bulwark against some really intense times in our political climate. So I'm being asked to talk about my vision, some of my qualifications. Some of you may not know. I was the first elected Green in the history of Denver, Colorado, where I learned some administrative skills like managing a $1 billion budget, managing thousands and thousands of employees, and even having to fire them, but also being targeted for attacks because we dared to take the teacher's pension out of the hands of Goldman Sachs and Royal Bank of Canada and all the other things of that nature, where I fought very hard against the privatization of public schools. So in this role, I've been very honored to serve in this role as one of your steering committee members for the last couple of years. And I've tried to take this role a little bit beyond what it says just in the bylaws, which is that this is an administrative committee and this is that we are also spokespeople of the party. I've tried to have on the horizon that magic number of 5%. Who knows what I'm talking about here? 5%. So if you don't understand what I'm talking about, in a presidential election, should our candidate reach 5% of the popular vote, we get more money. And obviously funds are something that we're always in dire straits about, right? And so in order for us to get to 5%, and I don't intend that we stay there, I want to see us get to 100%. 100% of the people who don't actually vote as well. But in order for us to get that, we need to make sure that we have stable, strong state parties that work in conjunction with the national parties to get our federal candidates, especially our presidential nominee, across the finish line. And so I've done a lot of work in reaching out and reinforcing and supporting state and local parties all around the country. I provided direct support to the launch of the Green Party of Nevada, working on the Green Party of Wyoming, worked with folks in New Mexico, in Arizona, in Texas. I've helped out Greens, local Greens in Delaware. I've been in Florida. I have touched in as many places as I could because I believe that we cannot do this job of effectively representing the most disenfranchised people of this country. We cannot protect this environment if we do not have a strong political force so that we can be the revolutionary oppositional force that we need to be. That's what needs to get done. And sometimes there's grunt work that has to happen. Now, at this point in the campaign, the truism is that you really shouldn't take on anything that's controversial in your remarks. But I was involved in something very controversial. As you know, the steering committee was faced with a question to whether or not to accept donations of up to $100,000 to fund the recount. And it was an extremely controversial decision. Folks on either side of this question have a lot to say about it. I made the decision to say no to that. Not because I don't stand for voter integrity, not because I don't think that elections don't have problems. Believe me, as a person with a Hispanic last name, I understand those problems. But it's because we are a party of ethics and we are a party of values. And we have candidates on the street right now who are selling themselves as part of the linchpin of their platform is that we don't take corporate donations. And we were faced with a situation in which we would not know who those donations were coming from. We would not be able to provide accountability for that. And so it was important for me to maintain the integrity of this party and the track record of this party of being a clean money party all the way down to the rank and file. And you can disagree with me with that or not. But the fact of the matter is that I have faced retaliation. I have faced negative attacks in this campaign. And I've even had to confront where divisions of people of color, where we should be unified, are being used in retaliation because I made the decision to stand on the side of integrity of this party. So you can accept that or not, but I will make that decision again, whether I'm reelected to the steering committee or not, because we are a Green Party. And it's time to have a place for principled disagreement and discussion in this party. And so I will commit to continue to give you 30 hours a week or more in this job. Please rank me number one. Please continue to support your local and state Green parties as well. Thank you.
Next up, we have Anita Rios.
Hello. I am so honored to be here. I am so honored to be here among so many leaders with such wonderful ideas. And I have been here before. I have been a co-chair of this party. I was co-chair of this national committee from 2001 to 2004. And I have to tell you that my main agenda item then would be my main agenda item now, which is to focus on diversity. Because when I came into this party, I could look out at a meeting like this and, probably count on one hand the number of faces of color that I could see. And that's important because as we do this work, as we attempt to be a political voice for all the pain and suffering and the anger that our communities are experiencing right now, we have to be those communities. We have to look like them. We have to understand them. We have to listen to them. We have to be them. So, I'm already thinking about what would we do next year? What will our national committee meeting look like next year? And I would share with you that this morning, I tried to be in two places at once because this was going on and the forming of the Indigenous Caucus was also going on. And that was tough. You can't really be in two places at once. So, I think we have to really, find time to really have that space for diversity. So I think that's a very important part of our vision, a very important part of the structures we create as a political party. So, I don't want to go over time. Lastly, I would say, I almost feel like as a candidate, this little bit of time is too little too late. I hope most of you have already voted. I hope all of you have already voted. We're going to close the voting in just a few hours. I don't know what I could tell you that you would not already have seen through our videotaped discussion that we did for 2.5 hours last Saturday, or from my bio. So I would refer you to those. I'm a longtime Green. I was a Green. I was a leader. I was a revolutionary when I walked into the room today. And I will be those things when I walk out of the room. And I will be those things when I leave this conference, and I will be those things when I go back home and continue to be a Green, whether you vote for me or not. Thank you.
Next up, we have Gloria Matera.
Hello, Greens. Thank you for being here. My name is Gloria Matera. Currently, I'm co-chair of the Green Party of New York, a state party I am very proud of. And I want to say I'm a radical, I'm a revolutionary, and I am an organizer. I came to those things when I started almost 30 years ago working in public health in New York City with children and families, mostly on welfare, mostly immigrant and undocumented. And I saw how awful people were treated, no matter how good their medical care was. And I saw how the corporate politicians in office were dismantling the public health system, as is happening now. It continues to happen where I work. And so I joined the single-payer healthcare movement thinking that would be the solution. And then I realized that the two corporate parties were never going to let that happen. And so I got involved in independent political electoral campaigns. And then I found the Green Party through the Nader campaign in 2000. And so I've been there ever since. I've been a candidate several times. I was honored to be deputy campaign manager for Stein Baraka campaign this past election cycle. And in terms of my job and my experiences, I know there's, should the Green Party be electoral or movement or both? Or should a steering committee member be a good administrative person or have the right political positions or both? In terms of my experience, I manage 15 staff. I manage a budget of about $500,000 at work. I have been through the labor relations experience with staff. Fortunately, I'm glad I've never had to fire anyone. So I have good organizing skills, administrative skills in that area. But I think what's important to me is I'm in the Green Party because I want to contest for power. And I think I've heard a lot about that today. We've had some wonderful speakers. We hear the struggles that Sherry's talking about, that Ajamu's talking about. And I want to be part of that. And I think that helping that to happen is strengthening our state parties. Our state parties need the help and the resources that the national party can give them. And of course, that means that we have to build a strong national party. I think we need to improve our communication with national committee delegates and also with state party leaders. We have a wonderful new initiative in our state where we get on the phone now once a month and we invite committee chairs, county leaders, our executive committee, our state organizer is on there. And so we have an opportunity to share that. I think we can do that with our national delegates. I think we can do that with our state chairs who need some help. And I think it's really exciting. This morning was the best of us. Hearing about a new caucus forming, hearing how we could stand up for election integrity, in the 197, giving solidarity greetings. And so I know I will quote Ajamu, I will steal that and say we do have a lot of work to do. I think we can do a better job. I'd really be honored to be a part of that. Thank you.
Next up, we have James Lane.
Hi, everyone. Good. Was it morning or afternoon? I don't know. It's been going on for a while. So my name is James Lane, and I decided to throw my hat in to run for steering committee co-chair. Thank you. One of the reasons was after last year's convention and seeing a lot of issues that we're having internally with communications and relationships, it was actually very troubling. And so I joined the Black Caucus, and I became an NC rep on the Black Caucus. And I was made aware really quickly that it seems like we can't get anything done out in the streets because we're doing a lot of battling within our own party. And I'm a firm believer of we can't go into other people's houses telling them what's wrong with theirs until we fix everything that's wrong with our houses. So I just want to get that out first, because during this election, I don't know, I thought I was the nicest black guy around, but apparently I've been accused of some things myself. So that threw me back for a bit. But then I look into myself, as John mentioned before, revolutionaries have to think about doing revolution in themselves. And I did some work on myself and think about it and think of where is this coming from? And a lot of it's coming from the fact that I'm not going to say privilege or anything like that, but we all need to do work on ourselves. This is a fact. We're humans. We need to. But the main fact why I'm running for co-chair or steering committee co-chair is because my background is coming into organizations, working, I'm the guy that rolls up his sleeves, gets into work, sees where there's deficiencies, works to improve them, tighten up things like we're talking about, communication, transparency. I was just chatting to Sherry, we're talking about like our struggles that we're having, and I was like, I lost my job last year. You know, I was helping out candidates and whatever. Now I'm running a campaign. I'm not getting the support that I need. And then it's also personal support that you need. And then you feel like, even though you're in this green party, you're still not part of a community. Because when something comes up, there's no one you can turn to. You feel like that people that you thought were your allies are actually your enemies. And so these are all the things that actually are created because of something that's happened historically or whatever. And I'm all about like righting those wrongs, changing those narratives, changing whatever this old, you know, these cobwebs that are hanging around in our attic and move on from that. Because if our goal is to get 5%, like Andrea mentioned, we are never going to get to 5% unless we clean out our attics. We are never going to get to 5% unless we have better structure for communication with each other. You know, like Mike Dennis and I talked about the other day, we love the fact that we had this online forum last Saturday. It was great. It's really upsetting that there was only 400 views out of all the members that we have. You know, I even tried to, you know, send links so it's easy to get to. And I get it. Everyone's busy. But what about the people that don't have computers? How do we reach out to them to let them know what's going on? So one of the things I really, really, really want to focus on as a co-chair is actually working on our membership. You know, because this party is built on our members. People register to vote Green because they believe in us. They believe in our values. They want to be a part of this. And we need to have a better way to contact them, to relate to them. You know, yes, emails, social media, or whatever. You know, a lot of them, guess what? They may not have phones because they're poor. How are we going to reach out to those people? Door to door. How are we going to reach out door to door people if we don't have our own communication structure, if we don't have neighborhood captains, block captains, all these kinds of things? It's great that we're talking about organizing state and local parties, but guess what? Even within the state and city parties, they're still not reaching the people on the street. So my job is always customer relations, stuff like that. And it's all about reaching out to your base. How are they doing? Checking in with them. How can we help them? You know, one of the things we were just talking about before, it's great that we heard, you know, the staff is going to be unionized. And then we're saying, well, wouldn't it be great if we had a credit union in the Green Party? So these are the kinds these are the kinds of things that we need to do, we need to talk about. You know, I won't take much time. Am I over time? Okay. But so, like I said, I'm running for co-chair because I want to see things change. I want to see things get better. But it doesn't matter what my vision is. If everybody else is in sync with achieving a goal of 5% at least, I mean, I want a goal of 50%. You know, I mean, we've seen every election, 50% of people vote. They want to hear about the Green Party. They want to hear about a major third party. You know, if you go to Wikipedia, we're listed as one of the 5 major parties. But we're the ones that have to get in the street to let people know that. But that's not going to happen if we're fighting and spending countless amount of times on emails and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. You know, next time you want to write a post about somebody, get a clipboard to go in the street and get somebody's phone number and email address. That's how you're going to grow this party. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Next up, we have George Martin.
Hello, family. You know, I'm so proud to be up on these stage with the other SC candidates, and I consider them all to be friends. And we're talking about a lot of different things, and I'm happy that we have 7 co-chairs, because there is a lot of work to do. My nomination, aside from the video, was 7 pages long. And that's because I've been working for 57 years. I started at 14. And I work in my community. I don't want to sit here and say I anymore, but I will say this, that I have Lifetime Activist Award from the Wisconsin Network for Peace and Justice. in terms of everything in Wisconsin, in my community. I have Lifetime Activist Award from the Foundation for United Front that also recognized Chris as a youth leader in this country. I also want to say that I've been out there. And at 14, I was fighting civil rights and racism, and I still do. I just got back from Greece fighting fascism. You know, and somebody along the way, and I'll take it this way or that way, back behind the scenes, kind of tried to stab the Black Caucus candidates and said, George is running all over the world. How can he help us? Yeah, I run all over the world 3 or 4 times a year, but I am in England, stomping the wards with Jeremy Corbyn. I am in Venezuela, working with former President Hugo Chavez. I move around by invitation. I never go on vacation. And at the same time, that's that picture, but back home, I am fundamental. In my community, I got 100,000 votes as Activist of the Year. I know what I'm doing because I've been on this road a long time. There is no social issue that I haven't touched. And I've been at this annual meeting for 17 years. And I'm saying to you, how much time I got? Because I can talk all day. But I am saying to you that we are at this point. You know, somebody questioned why I'm doing this. Every December, I look at what I'm doing. And I reprioritize myself. And this December I did that. You know why? Because I have worked with every one of our presidential candidates since 2000 and been a leader in that fashion. And we are, in terms of social movements, I'm an activist, I'm an educator, I'm a trainer. In terms of movements, we're kind of there. We haven't made it over that hump. And this is our opportunity. This is our time. This is our time to move ahead. And I want to be part of that leadership. At 16, I was 10 feet away from Dr. King when he gave his I Have a Dream speech. The problem today is that too much of America is dreaming. This is our opportunity. As an old Black Panther, I say, seize this time. We have to move ahead. You know what? We are ready. I am ready. I am ready to go to work. Rank me number 1. Get me on the national committee because I am concerned about the big picture. I have been very frustrated since I've come into this party about the electoral barriers that had kept us back. And people might have different feelings about the recount, but I started writing about black box in manipulation of votes back in 2001. And without talking to others, I found out from people in my community about the recount going forward. And I called David, my friend. Said, David, what's happening? He said, I'll get back to you. You know, out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, when the word was go, we popped every local affiliate TV station in this country. Yay, Milwaukee. Yay, Wisconsin. We popped NPR. I'm concerned about that big picture. So as we talk about these kinds of things, we have to work on those kinds of things. If you haven't seen it, here's an article from the Progressive magazine about the spoiler effect and about giving third parties a chance. This was published by the Progressive, the New York Times, Chicago Times, and LA Times online. These are the kinds of things we need to be doing. We need to be educating. We need to be changing these barriers. And if it's a big picture, we need to be working on it locally. Give me a chance to help lead us in that fashion. I thank you very much. And in the words of my tribe in Ghana, of my slave roots who've honored me as a chief for my work for peace and justice, the 5,000-year-old true Rastafarian tribe of Ghana, of the Ashanti Nation, whose theme for 5,000 years has been peace and love. Vote for me. Thank you.
No, you're fine. So that completes our co-chair section. We had 7 great candidates. As I said, I had the opportunity to talk to them all last Saturday, hear their views on a number of issues. And just as when I interviewed 8 presidential candidates in 9 weeks last year for my podcast, every single one of them has something of value to offer to this party. Whether they're elected or not, these are people committed to this party, and people who will do work in this party. So, thank you all so much. I look very much forward and honored to serve with however it works out at 5 o'clock. But we have the honor of having all of these amazing organizers and activists and people who do the work in their community every day coming before us. So, those are your 7 co-chair candidates. At 5 o'clock today, 4 of them will be members of the steering committee, and I look forward to serving with them. We have 2 candidates for secretary, Lou Ann Cosma and Jody Grange, and Lou Ann has walked up first, so Lou Ann is next.
Thanks. Also, she didn't want to follow George. Really hard to do. My name is Lou Ann Cosma. Can you hear me? Yeah. And I'm from Michigan. I lived in Michigan. Did it just go off or something?
No, it's working.
Okay. I grew up.
You have a tech guy.
Okay, close. Okay, there you go. I've lived most of my life, adult life in Michigan, but I grew up here in New Jersey, just 5 miles away in Maplewood. And I want to say this without tearing up I'm really grateful to the New Jersey Green Party here and their fabulous candidate, Seth, for governor. I visited my father last night, who's on dialysis, and my brother, who's a mentally ill person who's in a group home, not homeless. And I'm just really grateful for his candidacy and for you guys for having such a strong party, sorry. I laid out some of the plans that I had in mind by email, if you had a chance to see some of those ideas. I've been a long-time organizer of many events and campaigns. For the last 5 years, I've been trying to ban fracking in Michigan, and I've been the coordinator of a ballot initiative campaign, and I've organized over 800 volunteers over the last 5 years, actually more than that, I think, but 800 volunteers got about 224,000 signatures, and we're still fighting it out in the courts. I'll back up a little bit. I'm actually a folklorist in my background, and worked for many years at Michigan State University, so I was an administrator, and mainly did folk life festival production and also research. And also I have this other background in legal work. I came to the Green Party actually through my work in Benton Harbor, Michigan, fighting for justice there, where Whirlpool was trying to take over a public park. And so I worked with residents for about 6 years. Nonstop. We had a federal lawsuit, and I brought that federal lawsuit together while Governor Jennifer Granholm was meeting with Jack Nicklaus. I was working with people in Benton Harbor putting together the legal team of plaintiffs. So some of the reasons why I came to the Green Party are for social justice and environmental justice. And let's see, just a couple of the things I had in mind, in case you didn't read that email. The things that we could do to improve how the secretary works in the party is to perhaps create webinars or videos. I hate being myself on video, but a webinar would be great for all of us to learn better how the party works, how the delegate system works. I know a lot of state party chairs might need this information too, so maybe having a specialized one for them. My own state party chair has a lot of questions and didn't understand how the delegate system works at all and how the voting system works. So those would be really good things. I've created a lot of webinars for the Ban Fracking campaign, and so I know how to do that. I know how to use Nation Builder. I have our letsbanfracking.org website is on Nation Builder now. I think that might be about all as far as improving, and we can post content to the website with, of course, David Doonan is doing a lot of that already, but I'd be happy to help with that. So in closing, I would love to have your vote. If you haven't voted already, rank me number 1. And I thank Jan Martell for that nomination, for thinking of me in the first place. And I look forward to working with everyone who wins the election later on today and serving all of you and all of us so that we can, communicate better both on list and in voting and in just in all of our work that we have to do. Thanks.
Next up is Jody Grange.
Well, as I know a lot of you and hope to know the rest of you before long, and you know that I could talk forever on just about anything. So I have written down a few introductory remarks so I don't stray too far and too long. If I have the privilege of serving as secretary, I want to ensure that the decisions of the steering committee are made, recorded, and implemented in a transparent manner, and that the steering committee stays accountable to the national committee. I bring a number of assets to this campaign. Maybe the first one is that I'm a retired teacher. I have taught special ed, juvenile hall, substituted, it's been mostly in the trenches. So think of a teacher you've had that you didn't mess with, and I would like to embody those principles. I also have no day job. Well, I have no paying day job. The Green Party pretty much is my job. I have a few other commitments, but they are well handled. So the Green Party is pretty much what I do every day, all day. There is not a soul in Ballard, my part of Seattle, and in fact many other parts of Seattle, that does not know I'm a Green. I always have my Green Party button on and a few brochures in my purse just in case there's a spark of interest. I have a pretty good amount of energy, stamina, determination, and I'm a worker. I'm practical and pragmatic and efficient. I have a great bank of knowledge that comes from what I've done, which includes 6 years on the steering committee. So I understand a lot of the processes, how we got where we are. I'm also well aware of many things that need to change and improve. There's the Ballard District Council elects an executive committee, which I'm not really on, but they have a position that they said they'd call something like the knitting elder or something, so that I'm on the executive committee anyhow. It's important that there is institutional memory. As I have often said, we can at least make different mistakes. So we try not to repeat the ones we've made. It's very good to have such a tremendous range of input as the Green Party has. As we get a wider group of people in pretty much any category you can mention, it increases the amount of voices that we have access to, and is a really great way to grow us, not just numerically and in diversity, but the ideas coming out and the energy we have available goes up too, and that is great. I was the Green Party of the United States Treasurer for 4 years, so I have an understanding of the processes and the budget and what needs to happen. I did some innovative things when I was treasurer. It was the beginning of not just presenting a budget, but also recording the budgets and what actually happened in years before, so you could see the direction we were going and have some context to put the budget into. Also, while I was treasurer, there was a monthly report posted to the GNC with the expenses in 5 categories, so and it was all related to what percentage of the budget we had spent so far. So there was a lot of tracking of the financial affairs of the Green Party of the United States so that everybody could see how it was. I've also served on the Finance Committee, the Fundraising Committee. I'm currently co-chair of the Ballot Access Committee. I've been on the Accreditation Committee and the Credentialing Committee, and I was part of Jill Stein's core staff. So I know a lot of the workings of how things are, as well as having had the opportunity to work with a lot of you. I've worked with the Green Party of Washington State since the mid-'80s. I have connections with a lot of the state parties from work I've done over time. Each state is unique, unfortunately. So we really can't do cookie cutter things. I mean, every state assumes that every other state is like them, but that never happens. That we've done things in Washington State, like we now have elected as part of our coordinating council, we now have an elected representative from each of our local chapters, and it's really helped the input and the connections. And I want to talk about connections. There are too often locals aren't terribly well connected with their states, and states aren't terribly well connected with GPUS. We can't afford that. We have a lot of work to do, and we have to do it, and we've got to become the best team that ever came to be. We have to build community. We have to make it so that you'd have to be in a near coma not to know as a state what's going on at the national level, and not to know at the national level what's happening at the state level, and the local chapters need to be tied in. I have some pretty concrete ideas, some of which I've tried out before, that we can work to become a really good team. We have to fill in the chasms that are there. We have to do a tremendous job of facilitating the sharing of our skills and knowledge. We have to develop bonds between each other, trust between each other, networks among and between. We have to build coalitions with movements and social change organizations, healthcare, housing, peace. I mean, you would think we could get a little peace. I may have to wear these. I've got a lot of earrings, but I just put these peace earrings on every morning and think, well, okay, we're still on that one. We need to welcome everyone. We have way too much work to do to be picky. The next time any Green sees some evidence of not working together, you just stand there and you say, I will not accept this. We must be outspoken. It's tempting to just stand there with your mouth open because it's so audacious, but we can't afford to do that. We must speak up every time, right away, with force. I guess I was just thinking about your grandmother who would not put up with that, and that teacher you had that wouldn't put up with it either. Each of us have to be ready at any moment to fight and express ourselves for how we insist the world needs to be. Anyhow, I want your vote. I want you to put me to work. David Doonan said he's willing to do everything possible to help all of us. I second the motion. Please vote for me. I'm ready to go.
So, Daryl worried me for a second there. Right as our last speaker's wrapping up, I saw him walking out the door. I'm like, oh, I don't know what's going next.
Give me an extra 45 seconds.
But again, thank you so much to our secretary candidates. Thank you so much to our co-chair candidates. And it's time. Let's move this party forward. So.
So a couple of things. One, Darlene's going to join me for a second. We have in the building with us Miko Peled. Miko, where'd he go? Well, Miko is an activist with the BDS movement in Palestine, and so he is here. He's come over. He's been in the area, and so we wanted to give him a chance to wave at you and say hello, and have those of you that are a part of that effort here in the United States to be able to meet with him and someone who's actually doing that work over in the Palestinian area, so that you can discuss tactics and issues and get more information from folks doing it there, and he can share with you what you're doing here. So he is here. I just don't see him right now. He may have stepped out to the restroom, but we'll have him when he comes back in. We'll have him wave his hand at you. Darlene?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. This has been really exciting. I wanted to...
I'm sorry. Miko, he's right there talking. Can you wave? So this is Miko I was talking about from the BDS movement in Palestine. So make sure you get a chance to...
So I don't know if our Green Party members here are aware of all the work that's been done by the Green Party in regards to the Puerto Rican independence movement and decolonization of Puerto Rico. And so I just wanted to put out there that after we disperse with the annual meeting in this room, we're going to have a prestigious panel on Puerto Rican independence. I want to, we have some here. We have Gualterio Alomar, and he is the coordinator of Ocho.net. It's a Hispanic culture organization, and he has a video out called Decolonization is Extinction. So he's going to be here speaking. We have Monica Ponton that we brought. She's a Taína. She wants to talk about Puerto Rico as a sovereignty. We also have long-term Greens here, Hector Lopez. Hector, can you stand up? He's from Connecticut. And he actually worked hard to develop our platform on Puerto Rican independence. And we have another long-term Green on the right here, which is Jaime Rodriguez and his wife, who have been really, really strong advocates in the Puerto Rican independence movement. So we really would like to invite you and extend that invitation to please learn more about Puerto Rico and how you can be involved. Thank you.
So some of you might know my good friend here, Elijah Manley from Florida. So together we're going to introduce, we're going to deviate a little bit from the schedule. We'll tell you what's going on now. So lunch is on the way. And so lunch is pizza and salads that are being delivered for us. And so we really want to invite you to help us defray some of the costs of the meals, the breakfast earlier today, the catering and all that, and the pizza and salads that are being brought in from outside. So there are going to be some tote bags, and we'd like you to fill them up with dollars that spend, as opposed to Monopoly money, and so that we can continue to cover some of the costs of the things that it takes to do what we're doing. We also want to make sure that we plug again the fundraiser this evening at 7 p.m. It's in your program. We really want folks to come out and be a part of that and help us. The fundraisers really help us to be able to prepare for doing the A&M each year going into the next year. And so you guys have been so wonderful over the past few years at those fundraisers, and we hope that you will stay true to your green nature this year with that fundraiser as well. One of the oversights that we recognized today, So, and also the workshops that are scheduled to come on are going to happen. Those workshops are going to be upstairs, and one of them, the Puerto Rican Independence Workshop, is going to be in here. We're looking at figuring out how to make sure that there's food in the different areas so that you'll be able to get what you need without, so that it flows a little bit better, right? So we have to physically be out of this room by 2 p.m. So we want to make sure that you get good food and get time to eat it, and also are able to enjoy the workshop period time that you have as well. Jan, what are you going to say? Yeah, the breakout groups are still going to happen, and we're going to work that out to make sure you can eat and do those breakout groups, maybe simultaneously or at least with some break in there. Yeah, we're going to work on that flow. But in the instance of recognizing a glaring error that we made in terms of planning for today is the highlight of our A&M. And so what we want to do is invite our amazing and wonderful former presidential nominee, two-time presidential nominee, Jill Stein, to come and address the crowd and have a conversation with us, and so that we can glean from the experience of this candidate and leader of the party to share some insights that she has. And so you want to say something about Jill?
I'll say it later.
So Jill Stein, please, big green welcome to Jill Stein.
I'll say it after you speak.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Daryl. Really appreciate the last minute shift in agenda to allow me to just give such a big thank you to everyone for bringing us to this truly historic moment. And for those of us who've been working to build this party for so long, for decades, and working to build the social movements that we represent, I think, we're at an incredible turning point right now. We're at this breakthrough moment. We're at this tipping point. We are turning the breaking point that we face in our economy, our ecology, peace, democracy, social and economic and racial justice. The Arctic is breaking apart. Our communities are breaking apart. Our schools are breaking apart. Our healthcare is breaking apart. We face really an unprecedented crisis, but we are also standing up with absolutely unstoppable resistance. And I think we owe it to each other to just give an incredible shout out, thank you, pat on the back, hugs of congratulations. We have done so much work, so much blood, sweat, and tears. So many new people have come into the party recently. And I want to give a big thank you and a big welcome, especially to the Burners who've injected so much life and vitality and organizing into our parties. So many who are running for office. I want to acknowledge Kenneth Mejia, for example. I don't know if Kenneth is in the room, but there you are. Okay. And Akeem Browder, who is also coming in. Ajamu and I, like with Sherry before, we made such an effort to prioritize frontline communities, and David Cobb beforehand as well. We were all working to prioritize as best as we could the frontline communities who really are the front lines of America, the communities of oppression. This is what America looks like now. America is a land that is struggling for a job, for a decent wage, for health care, for a college education, to get out of debt. America is a land of oppression. It has long been a land of oppression. But that oppression now has generalized to become the norm for so many Americans. And it gives me incredible just gratitude and exhilaration to see how we have really become. We have become the voice of that movement. We, the Green Party, have become the voice of these many movements, these social movements. We are the party of people, planet, and peace over profit. We owe it to everyone in this room and all of our colleagues at home for the incredible hard work that we have done. And I know it has been nothing less than blood, sweat, tears, sacrifice, losing your home, losing your job, losing your
your respect and status with your social groups and your communities. Many of us have lost the friends that we thought we had, and instead we have gained the real family that we actually do have. We have learned so much from our Indigenous brothers and sisters. I want to give them a big thank you and shout out. I never learned anything more in the campaign than what I learned at Standing Rock. And I want to thank all those who were my hosts at Standing Rock and who showed so much generosity to the Green Party and helped us really become the voice for this vision that we share and this vision that we have learned from the Indigenous community, that Mother Earth is the only home that we will ever have. We really share that vision, and thank you for that vision. We also share your concept of democracy, of participatory democracy, and of consensus. We thank you, our Indigenous brothers and sisters. We thank our Latino brothers and sisters and Latina brothers and sisters for your courage, for standing up for immigrant rights as human rights, for clarifying that the most powerful thing we can do to fix the immigration crisis is to stop causing it in the first place. The immigration crisis is a crisis of imperialism, a crisis of war. It is a crisis of NAFTA and globalization. It is a crisis of the drug wars, and it is a crisis of regime change. We can fix the immigration crisis by putting an end to imperialism, to endless war, and economic domination. And we have learned so much from our immigrant brothers and sisters who stood up with so much courage in 2006 and said, we will no longer be silenced. We have learned so much from our African American brothers and sisters who've stood up with the courage of Black Lives Matter to say, we are not afraid. We are standing up for liberty, for justice, and for our human rights. We thank you so much for your courage. We thank Frederick Douglass for pointing out that power concedes nothing without a demand. It never has, and it never will. We in the Green Party are proudly standing up to carry that demand forward, the demand that all of you have represented in your communities. And I thank especially Alice Walker for the saying that gives me so much courage every day to continue this fight. That is, that the biggest way people give up power is by not knowing we have it to start with. We have it, we're going to use it, we're going to continue using it, and we owe it to everyone in this room. A big thank you. Can all the candidates please raise your hand? Everyone who is running for office, can you please stand for a moment so we can give you a big thank you? If you stand for a moment. We thank you so much for carrying forward who we are. We have an incredible responsibility. We have an incredible privilege. And we have what may be, in fact, just simply the accident of history. But the future of humanity depends on us. Few people will ever face as grave a responsibility as what we face. Whether we will have a future coming out of even this century and perhaps sooner than that depends on what we do, the courage, the unity, the vision, the kindness, the generosity, the forgiveness, the vision that we bring to our work, to each other, to building the only party that we have, the only national party that is not bought and paid for by predatory banks and fossil fuel giants and war profiteers. We are it. We are the political resistance. We are a family. Let's be a family. Let's act like a family. And let's win the future for each other, for ourselves, for our children, for Mother Earth, and for history. Thank you all so much for making it so.
Tell us how you really feel. So on the screen, you can see this is where the rooms are going to be for the breakout. Before we leave for the breakout, we are going to have our guests from Palestine come and give us a couple of minutes of greetings. Our food, the way the food is going to work, there is going to be food upstairs and food. I'm sorry? That's the Puerto Rican Independence. It's here. Puerto Rican Independence, it's here in this room. This isn't the caucus committee stuff. So where was I? Okay, hold on. Okay, so there's going to be food upstairs and some food in here. So folks that are staying in here for that breakout will be here. Other breakouts are upstairs. You can see that. We're asking people to be relatively quiet as you go upstairs to the breakout rooms, because in the ballrooms and other rooms they are having testing that's being done. And so the students that are in there, need to do that thing, right? So if you could just be less activist as you walk from here to those breakout rooms, that would be really great. Also, the merchandise that we have from the national office is here now. It will not be out tomorrow. So if you are wanting to get those T-shirts to take back to your friends and family and community, the magazine, the green lines and bumper stickers, pins, whatever, you can get those things today before 2. We have to be out of this room at 2 o'clock. So the workshop, the breakout will happen, and then the committee fairs will. Yeah. Look, caucus is still. Sorry, caucuses are still meeting when the caucuses are meeting. That is still happening. I need to find out, because if you're doing a working lunch, then the Latinx caucus that was meeting during lunch obviously is going to have challenges with that along with this. So I got him. We're just trying to. Oh, okay. Well, come on, Miko. Miko.
And we want to clarify that the Latinx caucus meeting was supposed to be happening during lunch. We're going to do the independent workshop and morph into the Latinx caucus meeting because the annual meeting has been going long and it's been cutting into our time. And we're really concerned about this contingency who came here, very prestigious contingency to speak before you. So we need to honor them. Thank you.
Okay, so the Latinx caucus and the breakout are going to be together, and the Black Caucus is meeting for dinner, and so we will meet at Honors Hall after at about 5, and we'll have a conversation about where we're going and what we're going to do. If you're in the Black Caucus, the other caucuses I believe have met or are continuing to meet. We're going to again bring up Miko, who's going to just bring us greetings from Palestine and the BDS movement.
There we go. All right. Oh man, this is awesome. I haven't even started yet. Wow. Yeah. Well, Palestine. Yeah. All right. That was awesome. I haven't even started. I don't really need to say anything then, do I? It seems like you guys everybody's on the same page. I'm going to say, yesterday I ran into Jill and I told her that I'm now a member of the Green Party, and she asked me if it had anything to do with the Green Party position on Palestine and BDS, and I had to admit it had everything to do with the Green Party position on Palestine and BDS. It seems to me, I don't think there's any argument here or any confusion about why the fight for justice in Palestine is the right fight. I don't think anybody has any doubts that Palestinians deserve their rights, they deserve water, they deserve freedom. But there are two things that people still seem to be a little unsure about. One of them is BDS, the whole question of boycott, divestment, and sanctions. Within the movement, within the Solidarity Group, even within the Palestinian resistance, there's still some debate on whether or not it's the right thing. And I want to clarify, and I want to make it as absolutely clear as possible. There is no solidarity, there is no resistance without BDS. Absolutely. The call for boycott, divestment, and sanctions is the right call. It is the solidarity, it is the resistance, and it is working. Now, just to make it really, if you will, what are the demands? If we understand the demands of the BDS movement, then we can easily brush aside all the nonsense about it being anti-Semitic or it being racist or it being terrorism and so forth. The demands of the BDS movement are as follows. They're probably the most reasonable demands any liberation movement, any resistance movement has ever made. Ending the military occupation in Palestine, which everybody accepts. Equal rights for Palestinians with Israelis, which of course is completely reasonable, and the right of the Palestinians to return, the refugees to return to their homes and to their land. What could be more reasonable? And that demand, the right of return, has already been enshrined in international law and has been passed as a UN resolution. None of this talks about harming the Jews. None of this talks about harming the Israeli Jews who live in Palestine. It's all remedial. It's all to fix the problems that were created for Palestinians when the State of Israel was established. So they're completely remedial. There's nothing anti-Semitic. There's nothing about the Jews, one way or the other, in these demands. And so I urge everybody to accept this, to embrace this, and to support the idea of BDS and to act. It's very easy to act. You go to a grocery store, if it says made in Israel, you put it down. Or if you want to get more serious, there's the campaign against HP and you get involved with that. So there's a wide range here of things that we can all do. The other issue that seems to be a little problematic is the issue of recognition of Israel, the question of the right of Israel to exist, and this whole issue of the single democracy in Palestine. And when we talk about a single democracy in Palestine, people still talk about it as though it's radical, as though it's extremist. What is radical about equal rights? What is radical about saying that everybody deserves the same amounts of water? What is radical about saying that political prisoners are wrong? We should not have political prisoners. What is radical about this? Nothing is radical, but in the context of Palestine, when it impacts Israel, suddenly this becomes radical. So I think it's important to put that in perspective. Does Israel have a right to exist at its current, the way it is right now? The answer is absolutely no. There is no right for settler colonialism to exist. There is no right for racism to exist. There is no right for an apartheid regime to exist. There is no right for genocide to go on. And if anybody has any doubts that what is going on in Palestine is genocide, look at the Geneva Convention. Look at the definition of genocide. Compare that to what Palestinians have been suffering for the last 7 decades, and it's obvious that what Israel is engaged in is genocide on top of ethnic cleansing and on top of maintaining an apartheid regime. So there is no way to justify it. There is no way to say this is legitimate. So again, those are the two issues. The BDS, like I said, is absolutely the right thing to do. It is dedicated, it is principled, and there is no solidarity, there is no resistance without it. A single democratic state with equal rights between the River Jordan and the Mediterranean is exactly the banner behind which we should all stand and what we should all be fighting for. Thank you all very much.
So, thank you all again for your sticking through today to get all the information and to share and all the inner workings of the party that you all, many of you are delegates or alternates where there's voting required for something. This is the meeting time where we talk about what's happening, what's going on, and thank you for your diligence and participation today and this whole weekend. Again, don't forget that merchandise is available for today only up until 2 o'clock, and also the fundraiser today at 7 p.m. It's in your program. We want you to come and enjoy, have fun, food, music, drink, dance, and fellowship with our Green family. We are going to now transition. So those of you that are going to do any of the breakouts, the food will be upstairs and down here. And as soon as it arrives, it'll be distributed in those locations, and you'll be notified so that you can start your breakouts and then have your lunch during the breakouts. Committee and caucus fairs will start following that, and I believe that there are going to be signs on the doors for those fairs. The explanation for that is